Amidst the pure white snow, a thought echoed. I am a mere mortal from a civilized society. The gaunt face of an old man appeared, his white hair and beard stained with blood, coughing repeatedly. He mumbled, "Civilized society." A little girl appeared, holding a bowl of cakes, looking at the old man with a worried expression. She said, "Mr. Co, I'm sorry. My mom told me to bring this to you." Mr. Co weakly replied to the girl, thanking her. The girl told him to get well soon so he could make soap for everyone. The little girl left, leaving small footprints on the pure white snow, heading towards the simple small house. The thought echoed again, affirming the identity of the one reminiscing, "I am a mere mortal from a civilized society." Mr. Co coughed violently, his face contorted in pain. He thought bitterly, 50 years! 50 years since I was thrown into this damned world. Memories flooded back. A car full of people was moving. He recalled, that was the day we went to a company workshop with Manager Kim and the staff. The convoy met with disaster. A terrifying landslide buried them all. He woke up in a completely unfamiliar world. That world had terrifying monsters, like a giant three-tailed fox, as large as a house, and other grotesque creatures, like a two-headed red snake with sturdy scales. Memories continued to show figures flying in the sky, like gods or demons, confirming this was a world teeming with monsters. He reminisced, sometimes thinking back, it was as if they had fallen into a wuxia novel. In that strange world, his colleagues had probably lived better than anyone else. Only he, alone in the void, faced a cruel fate by himself. Even those called immortals, descended from the heavens, were astonished by the divine power his colleagues possessed. Memories continued to surface. The image of a giant blue dragon soaring amidst thunder and lightning. One by one, they were taken away, ascending to the heavens, leaving him and Manager Kim alone in this world. The two men stood silently, watching the figures gradually disappear into the distance. Curved, tiled roofs. Ancient structures appeared in his mind. A strange world, but now it was home. He had once naively hoped that a miracle would come to him. But he and Manager Kim had no special abilities. Only a crude shovel remained, struggling with life. Knowing nothing about the new world, they could only survive by manual labor. The men toiled, digging and building amidst the barren land. Then 6 months passed. In the silence of time, Manager Kim couldn't endure it anymore. He spent all his money buying every martial arts manual sold in the market, determined to train. Just 3 months later, Kim had become a skilled martial artist, defeating many opponents. He stood firm in the circle, his aura soaring to the sky. Kim worked for the imperial court, learning countless advanced martial arts. Soon, he became a powerful warrior, leaving this place to wander the Jianghu. And so, only he remained. Standing in the wasteland, with a shovel in his hand, he felt more alone than ever. He wondered, would a miracle ever come to him? A ray of light flashed, but it was only an illusion in his mind. But no, nothing happened. Calloused hands, money earned through sweat, all were just harsh reality. 50 years later, he was just a frail old man, injured, and coughing up blood. His life ended in mediocrity, without a trace of glory. He came from Earth, another world. Now, his body was ravaged, he was injured, and coughing up blood. Death was near. He had lived here, alone, like a wild weed. His life passed meaninglessly, leaving no mark. He struggled to learn the language, the writing, to earn every penny. After countless hardships, he bought a small plot of land and built a home. Life seemed to have stabilized. Then he found an opportunity. In this ancient world, soap made from ash was a strange invention, helping him earn a fortune. He, with his silver hair, carried a tray of soap to sell, his eyes full of confidence. But life was not that easy. Then, the soap formula was stolen, and all his customers were gone. Thugs kicked him out of the market, destroying all his efforts. Now, abandoned by this world, he could only await death in his cold house covered in white snow. His ravaged body lay in the cold snow, he wondered. Would anyone speak of him like this? Blood gushed from the corner of his mouth. He gritted his teeth. Even though I worked so hard, how could you say that? Tears streamed down his wrinkled cheeks. He silently asked, why was I not chosen? Even though I'm not special. The last tear fell. Was I born only to be robbed? I don't even have the strength to open my eyes anymore. In the dim darkness, he yearned. Just a little. If I had a little power and a little more opportunity. With that, he faded, taking his last breath, and then a dazzling light tore through the darkness. A gasp escaped, as if he had just woken from a nightmare. Above, the sky was azure. White clouds drifted as if nothing had ever happened. The young man's eyes snapped open, startled to find himself lying amidst lush green grass. He looked down at his familiar office attire, a question popping into his mind. Did I come back to life? Around him, a few others were also groggily waking up, their faces filled with extreme confusion. A brown-haired girl looked around, her lips moving. Oh my God, where is this? His pupils dilated, light reflecting in Seo Yunyun's brown eyes, as if he had just seen through a horrifying secret or an unbelievable truth. His youthful face clearly showed contemplation. He had realized something, a truth about himself in this strange world. The whole group stood up, looking up at the azure sky, their faces still full of confusion and fear at the unfamiliar sight. Seo Yunyun turned his back, standing firmly in the vast space. A dormant power suddenly awakened. The power of return has awakened! The scene of lush green forests and a clear sky appeared. A peaceful yet mysterious beauty, as if opening a door to the past. Memories flooded back. A man in an orange jacket asked Seo Yunyun in shock. We were just going to a workshop. What the hell is this? Seo Yunyun thought to himself, this was the first day they got lost in this strange world. The white SUV was stuck amidst the rubble, rocks and soil sliding down, burying everything. Seo Yunyun recalled, there was a flash of light when the landslide occurred. Seo Yunyun turned his back, listening. The man in the orange jacket called him. Hey, Seo. He knew. Everything had happened. 50 years ago. The memories had faded. Seo Yunyun pondered. He thought about transmigration and survival. He told himself, usually people use future knowledge, but he only knew how to make soap. Suddenly, Manager Kim rushed over, grabbing Seo Yunyun's shoulder tightly, growling. Seo Yunyun! He flinched, quickly apologizing. Manager Kim, I'm sorry. I'm just a little confused. Manager Kim couldn't control his anger, pushing Seo Yunyun hard, his face contorted in fury. The rest of the group stood watching, their faces astonished and worried by the tension between Manager Kim and Seo Yunyun. Manager Kim stood tall, yelling at Seo Yunyun, who was sitting on the ground. Hey, you crazy brat! Did you drink and drive in the mountains? Because of you, we all almost died. Seo Yunyun was startled to realize he had forgotten the concept of salary after 50 years lost in another world, to the point of not recognizing his own name being called. Manager Kim roared, questioning Seo Yunyun. Hey, Assistant Seo, are you planning to get fired as soon as we get back? In his mind, a name appeared, etched deep like a scar. Department Head, Jian Myung-hoon, the real piece of trash. Jian Myung-hoon, Jian Myung-cheol's nephew, was a lucky guy who climbed to the position of department head at 32, thanks to family connections. He was a dark part of Seo Yunyun's memories. Amidst the tension, the man in the black jacket intervened. The man in the orange jacket tried to calm things down. Stop it! The landslide wasn't Seo's fault. It was unavoidable. But Manager Kim still screamed, How can I not be angry? That lunatic caused this disaster by driving while sleepy. Seo Yunyun admitted he had driven while sleepy, but in his mind, Jeon Myung-hoon's figure reappeared, the one who had pushed everything onto him. He recalled long nights of overtime, constant sleep deprivation, all because of that department head. A bitter truth began to dawn on Seo Yunyun's mind. Seo Yunyun's eyes flashed with indignation. Blood seeped from the corner of his mouth. He realized the cruel truth. It was Jeon Myung-hoon who had forced him to drive, pushing him into this tragedy. Manager Kim continued to curse. Damn it, it's that bastard's fault we're in this mess. But Seo Yunyun remembered clearly, every detail of the past, memories he thought he had buried. That day, he had bowed his head and apologized to Jeon Myung-hoon in shame, even blaming himself, a humiliation that now he could no longer accept. For 50 years in the other world, he had lived in humility, bowing his head. Even when robbed and trampled upon, he endured it, without a single word of protest. He was humiliated by martial artists, his assets extorted by local officials under the guise of taxes. His life was a long series of endless patience and humiliation. After all the suffering and humiliation, a spark ignited in his mind. He realized he wasn't the one who had to endure all of this. A strange feeling surged within Seo Yunyun. His hand clenched. A new resolve was kindling, completely different from the weak person he was 50 years ago. He raised his head, his sharp gaze fixed on the screaming man. A name rang out, full of power. Department Head John. Seo Yunyun stood up, strangely calm. He looked at Manager Kim, his voice firm. I understand you're upset, but I don't think this is a situation where you can blame anyone. Manager Kim roared, his face flushed with anger, unable to believe what Seo Yunyun had just said. What? This useless bastard. He lunged forward, grabbing Seo Yunyun's collar, his eyes blazing. Try that stunt again. Seo Yunyun, with a red mark on his cheek, maintained a terrifying calmness. He coldly replied, There's no need to bow my head for something that isn't my fault. In just an instant, Manager Kim was flung backward, falling to the ground. A lightning-fast counterattack. The people around, from the man in the orange shirt to the brown-haired girl, all gaped in astonishment, no one daring to believe the scene that had just unfolded. Seo Yunyun looked at the person sprawled at his feet, a stream of memories flashing through his mind. In my previous life, how many times was I beaten by martial arts master? He didn't stop. Another powerful punch landed, blood splattering in the air. Memories continued to flood back. The days Seo Yunyun was mercilessly beaten by bandits while digging for herbs in the mountains, or when the harvest failed and he couldn't pay enough taxes to the officials. Another punch, decisive and brutal, landed. Kim was completely helpless under his hand. Amidst the horror of the onlookers, Seo Yunyun recalled the lesson from those meaningless beatings. In that senseless violence, I learned something that Jeon Myung-hoon and others did not possess. He continued to strike, aiming directly for Kim's eye. If you hit someone in the eye, the one being hit will feel more fear. And then, his bloodied fist stopped, a voice echoing in his mind. And then, they will say. Kim lay sprawled at Seo Yunyun's feet, his face swollen and bloody, repeatedly pleading, I'm sorry. Kim cried miserably, completely subdued. Seo Yunyun recalled the mythical power that even gods coveted, something Kim did not possess. Seo Yunyun's face showed a calm expression, but his eyes were resolute. However, now, my destiny can change. Manager Kim knelt in pain. Colleagues around looked on worriedly, while the man in the orange jacket spoke up, advising Seo Yunyun. Assistant Seo, we are still colleagues, after all. Seo Yunyun turned his back, sighed softly, then apologized. That's right. I was too angry at the time, which is why I acted that way. I apologize if I surprised everyone. The black-haired young man bowed deeply, expressing remorse as the driver who caused the accident. Deep down, he swore he would never meet these people again. Anyway, I won't see these people again until I die. And as the driver, I apologize for this accident. The man in the orange jacket nodded, acknowledging the awkward situation caused by Department Head John. However, he still demanded that Seo Yunyun apologize for his overreaction. That's right, it couldn't be helped. It was a situation that angered Department Head Jian. Anyway, your reaction was excessive, Assistant Seo. Apologize. Seo Yunyun bowed obediently, accepting the reprimand. He knew he would still frequently meet Manager Kim in the future. However, I will meet Manager Kim frequently. Yes, you are right. In his mind, Seo Yunyun envisioned Manager Kim in ancient martial arts attire, standing amidst magnificent architecture. He recognized Manager Kim's martial arts potential and conceived the idea of exploiting it. If Manager Kim were to learn martial arts, he's the type who would reach the pinnacle. If I actively support him in this life, perhaps I will also benefit. Seo Yunyun's eyes flashed with a cold light. To execute his plan, he decided that from now on he must find a way to curry favor with Manager Kim. To do that, from now on, I must win him over. Seo Yunyun stood straight, bowing formally. He turned towards Jeon Myung-hoon, offering a sincere apology for his impulsive actions. Department Head Jeon, I apologize for my excessive reaction. I am truly sorry. Manager Kim, with a bruised face and a bloody nose, stared at Seo Yunyun. Though defeated, his words were still filled with resentment. You bastard. Seo Yunyun maintained a calm expression, his brown eyes looking straight ahead. He said nothing, only silently facing the other's anger. Manager Kim hung his head, completely defeated and helpless before Seo Yunyun. His words still echoed in the air. The man in the orange jacket suggested everyone leave the forest and look for a village. The man in the black jacket next to him listened, agreeing with the idea. Anyway, let's just start walking and get out of this forest. Or perhaps we could try to find a village somewhere? Seo Yunyun turned his head, his gaze thoughtful. He admitted that the suggestion to find a village was reasonable, but he already had other calculations in mind. Logically speaking, that makes sense. The man in the black jacket suddenly pointed into the distance, asking Manager Kim if he saw anything. Seo Yunyun realized they had to abandon conventional thinking. But, Manager, don't you see anything over there? And, that's right. And, we must abandon conventional thinking here. A fantastical scene appeared. Celestials flying in midair, lightning tearing across the sky, and a giant centipede growling. Seo Yunyun realized this was a world of those seeking immortality. This is where Celestials are trying to achieve immortality. Continuing the vision, martial artists slaughtered each other in a bloody struggle for fame and fortune. This was a brutal world of survival, where only the strong could exist. A world where martial artists kill for money and fame. A brutal world of survival challenges. They stood in the middle of a dense forest, a place called Celestial Ascension Village, a name that sounded unusual, as if a door to another world had just opened. This place was strangely desolate, with no towns, no cities, no trace of any nation. There was only majestic nature, cascading white waterfalls, and a chilling isolation. As dusk fell, CO Yun suggested to Manager Kim, "Manager, the sun has set. How about we light a fire in a safe place to avoid wild animals?" Manager Kim pondered, nodding. He knew Seo Yun was right, but something still seemed to trouble him. You're right. Someone had an idea. How about we find the car that brought us here and rest there? We've already loaded it with supplies for the workshop. Seo Yun's eyes flashed with a profound gaze. He knew well that the car had disappeared, for he had experienced his past life. But if he said it now, no one would believe him. Unfortunately, you won't find the car. The young man decided to let them find out for themselves. He suggested, "Explaining will be a waste of effort. Just let them find out on their own. So let's split into groups. One group will look for water, the other will look for the car." The sun gradually disappeared behind the mountain range, painting the entire sky red. Seo Yun instructed, "We'll gather back here before sunset, okay?" Night fell, and darkness swallowed the forest. Only the flickering firelight broke through the gloom, bringing a little warmth and faint hope amidst the wilderness. The fire blazed in the night, illuminating anxious faces. Someone exclaimed, "This is ridiculous." The brown-haired girl was confused. "We were in the car when the landslide happened. So why are we here and the car is gone?" Everyone sat around the fire, eating and chatting. What the hell happened? "Hey, this rice is really good. Isn't it delicious?" Seo Yun smiled mysteriously, looking around at the group enjoying their meal. "Delicious and crispy, right? I cooked a lot, so feel free to eat." Manager Kim laughed loudly, praising, "Haha, the situation is serious, yet Assistant Seo still handles it like a champion. I knew that back at the company. He's truly a diligent person, isn't he?" Manager Kim looked at someone dozing off and coughed softly. "Hey, he must have been exhausted even while driving. If I remember correctly, he worked the night shift the day before." The brown-haired girl smiled in agreement, her eyes sparkling in the firelight. "That's right. Our assistant Seo is super diligent." The brown-haired girl smiled, her eyes sparkling in the firelight. "Thanks to him finding this cave, it's almost like we're camping." Seo Yun simply replied softly, "Yeah." In the cozy cave, the group gathered around the fire, Seo Yun carefully stirring the pot of food. He thought to himself about his past life, when he only found this place after hours of wandering late at night. "I was just lucky," he said. A man in the group burst out laughing, joking, "Hey buddy, sometimes you should just accept a compliment." Laughter echoed in the cave, dispelling a bit of the chill. Seo Yun smiled faintly, his deep eyes hiding many thoughts. He told himself to savor this moment, for this smile carried a special meaning. Dark night enveloped them. A strange blue moon hung suspended amidst the clouds, casting an eerie light. Seo Yun knew the reason he could smile like that was because tonight would be the last night of peace. He prostrated himself on the ground, sweat pouring out, trembling as he spoke. I offer my greetings to the master of the forest." From the darkness, a giant fox with glowing red eyes and a fierce expression appeared. It spoke in a deep, resonant voice. "A race with a unique scent, I see." Seo Yun remained prostrated at the monster's feet. The giant fox continued, its voice echoing like thunder. "Even after living for thousands of years, I have never encountered a human with a scent like yours." The strange noise woke the brown-haired girl. She rubbed her eyes, looking sleepy and confused. "Assistant Seo, what's that noise?" But as soon as she saw clearly, horror struck. The brown-haired girl and the man in the orange jacket screamed hysterically, "Kaida! Monster! That's a monster!" The entire group plunged into panic. Seo Yun, still prostrated, frantically pleaded with the others. "Please, kneel before the master of the forest. Kneel down first, please." The giant fox growled, baring its sharp fangs. "Every time I see your kind, you are always ignorant and rude. If I followed my instincts, I would have torn all of you to shreds." It looked down at Seo Yun, who was prostrated, its glowing red eyes flashing with a strange glint. "But there is one among you who seems to understand how to show respect to the master of the forest, so I will forgive you." The man in the orange jacket and the man in the black jacket slumped to the ground, their faces pale with fear. The giant fox laid out a terrifying condition. "However, if you wish to live in my territory, one of you must inflict a scratch upon me, and I will acknowledge your right to stay." Seo Yun prostrated himself, sweat pouring down, his gaze resolute. He recalled his past life. "In my past life, when no one knew anything, everyone screamed in horror upon seeing this monster. And then, a horrifying image appeared in his mind. Dismembered bodies scattered on the blood-soaked ground, and were immediately torn apart by this fox. The giant fox licked its lips, its glowing red eyes flashing with cruelty. It had recognized the value of respect, but still did not forget its predatory nature. So, whose arm will be torn off? Unlike last time, not all of you have to lose your limbs. In Seo Yunyun's glowing red eyes, a calculating glint flashed. He knew. Just one arm. Only one person had to sacrifice to buy life for all. He recalled the promise of a Taoist master who would appear later to heal wounds, a faint ray of hope in his despair. Furthermore, he had already prepared pain-relieving herbs beforehand. Everything had been calculated, even if the price to pay was too high. Without hesitation, Seo Yunyun knelt, extending his bare arm towards the monster. You can take my arm. Behind him, the others watched the scene in horror, no one daring to object or intervene. Fear had frozen all will. The three-tailed fox narrowed its eyes at Seo Yunyun. So you are a human who knows how to show respect. Its voice rang out with surprise and a hint of amusement. Seo Yunyun's arm went straight into its sharp fangs. Because you have shown courtesy, I will ensure it hurts as little as possible. The words were like a cruel promise. A heart-wrenching scream echoed. Fresh blood splattered, staining a patch of verdant green. Seo Yunyun's arm had been torn off. The giant fox tilted its head back, chewing and swallowing the arm it had just taken. The crunching of bones echoed, a truly gruesome sight. The remaining people squeezed their eyes shut, not daring to look directly at the brutality unfolding. Extreme fear enveloped them. Seo Yunyun collapsed, clutching his profusely bleeding wound. Tears mixed with sweat, he desperately reached for the herb. Pain-relieving herb. He frantically bit into the ginseng root, its bitter taste spreading in his mouth. But the physical pain still felt like it was tearing his heart apart. It hurt so much. The three-tailed fox licked its lips, a hint of disappointment on its face. You have a unique scent. I thought you would taste different. But you're no different from ordinary humans. The tendons in your bicep are too tough, not good to chew. Thanks to the herb, the pain subsided. Seo Yunyun gasped for breath, his eyes dark but still retaining his composure. I apologize for offering an unworthy sacrifice. The three-tailed fox turned its back, accepting the offering. I accept your sacrifice. You may stay in my territory for 7 days. I have informed my subordinates, so you will not be killed. The three-tailed fox soared into the sky, leaving Seo Yunyun collapsed amidst the deep pit and fresh blood. A faint groan escaping his lips. Horrified cries echoed as his colleagues rushed over. Manager Kim and the brown-haired girl stared in panic at Seo Yunyun's bloody arm, extreme fear evident on their faces. Seo Yunyun weakly gestured, trying to reassure the panicking people. Let's go inside first, he whispered. I'll explain later. The space outside the cave was strangely peaceful. Seo Yunyun began to recount. Early this morning, as I stepped out of the cave, I met the fox. It told me. His story stunned the entire group. Wulin? A voice of astonishment rang out, breaking the silence of the cave. Manager Kim and the others' eyes widened. Is this the Wulin world? He forced a laugh. I never thought I'd witness something like this. Seo Yunyun continued, his face pale from blood loss. Anyway, in exchange for my arm, the fox guaranteed our safety for 1 week. Manager Kim stammered. 1 week? What happens after a week? He looked up, his eyes tired but resolute. We should, he said, offer another sacrifice. His cold words made the atmosphere heavy. Fear enveloped the group. Seo Yunyun sighed. Perhaps it's the stress leaving my body. I feel so sleepy. He closed his eyes. I'll sleep for a bit. Please understand. Night fell. A strange purple moon hung suspended in the sky, illuminating the mysterious forest. In the cave, Seo Yunyun was fast asleep, his arm bandaged. An angry voice rang out. Department Head Jian, how could you even think that? Another person added. Assistant Seo is like this because he sacrificed his arm for us. The man in the white shirt sighed. Department Head Jian, even I can't defend you this time, he asked. So, is anyone here willing to offer an arm or a leg to the fox after a week? The group gathered to discuss, their eyes full of calculations. Anyway, Assistant Seo is useful. Someone said, he's been the one providing all our food and water so far. So, let's just treat him well this week. We'll figure things out later. In a dark corner, John Myung-hoon hid, his eyes flashing with malice. Anyway, Assistant Seo has already lost an arm, he whispered. His face clearly showed a sinister expression. In that condition, he won't last long, he sneered. So, this time too, shouldn't he be the one to be sacrificed? Seo Yunyun, who seemed to be fast asleep, opened his eyes. His calm gaze pierced through the darkness, as if he had heard every word of their calculations. In the dark night, John Myung-hoon complained again. unable to accept having to sacrifice his body parts to the three-tailed fox. So, because my body is already mangled, you're suggesting I cut off my limbs and offer them to the fox every week? In the darkness, Seo Yun-yun silently gripped a rock. He couldn't believe the manager's selfishness. How awful. Jeon Myung-hoon continued to complain, gesticulating wildly, his face full of annoyance. I feel very, very uncomfortable. Seo Yun-yun, his bloodied arm freshly torn, clenched the rock in his hand. He recalled 50 years of violence and beatings in his previous life. If I learned anything from the violence and 50 years of beatings in my previous life, it's that one arm is enough to kill a modern man like Jeon Myung-hoon. Jeon Myung-hoon still had his back to Seo Yun-yun, continuing his selfish remarks, completely unaware of the cold gaze fixed on him. Seo Yun-yun's eyes flashed with killing intent, a chilling thought suddenly crossing his mind. Should I kill him? He sighed, loosening his grip on the rock. Sigh. No. Seo Yun-yun stepped deeper into the cave, clutching his throbbing wound. He told himself that fear had numbed his mind and emotions. If I show too much brutality, it might cause trouble later when I need to rely on Manager Kim. Seo Yun-yun turned, his gaze sharp as a dagger, fixed on Jeon Myung-hoon. He spoke, his voice cold and threatening. Hey, Jeon Myung-hoon, shut up unless you want your ankle broken again. A smirk briefly crossed Seo Yun-yun's lips as he looked at the people around him. He understood their nature well. Yes, they are good people. It's just that the situation is crazy chaotic. Night gradually fell, dark clouds swirling in the sky, signaling a transition, a new beginning for the challenges ahead. Dawn broke, the morning sun illuminating the forest, dispelling the darkness of the night. The next day, Seo Yun-yun continued to recount the story of the new sacrifices. Unlike the fox that tore off and devoured my arm, the two-headed snake only demanded a handful of our blood. He recalled his previous life, a horrifying memory resurfacing. In my previous life, this very snake drank Assistant Manager O's blood after his limbs were severed and scattered. Assistant Manager O, with a resigned expression, rolled up his sleeve. A handful of blood, huh? This time, Assistant Manager O voluntarily stepped forward and offered his arm. The two-headed snake opened its mouth, sucking the blood from Assistant Manager O's arm. It grimaced, its voice full of disgust. Gawk, tilde, cough. Disgusting taste. The worst taste of all human blood I've ever tasted, Assistant Manager O hissed, clutching his bleeding wound. He resented the two-headed snake for disparaging his blood. That's the blood of a 21st century office worker, full of cholesterol and nicotine. Damn snake. Of course it wouldn't taste good. Seo Yun-yun stood beside him, his gaze cold. In the quiet space, Seo Yun-yun suddenly spoke, inviting Manager Jeon to pick herbs. Manager Jeon, shall we go pick some herbs? Manager Jeon flinched, pointing at himself in confusion. Huh? Me? He asked again. Aren't you hungry? Manager Jeon stammered, admitting he was hungry. I'm hungry. Seo Yun-yun continued to entice him, promising to show him safe herbs. I'll specifically show you safe herbs to eat, along with yesterday's berries, so come with me. Manager Jeon, with a skeptical expression, finally nodded. Really? Seo Yun-hyun leaned in, whispering a chilling threat into Manager Jeon's ear. I plan to offer my arm to the fox again next week. He said he would continue to sacrifice to the fox next week, and someone needed to learn how to survive in this deadly forest. Even if I die, someone needs to learn how to survive in this forest, don't you think? Manager Jeon, cornered, burst into feigned gratitude. Are you serious? Haha, thank you. I really thank you so much. He forced a laugh, repeatedly thanking Seo Yun-yun, as if he had just been granted a great favor. Seo Yun-yun turned away, a sneer evident on his lips. He secretly disdained Manager Jeon's thanks. Thanks for nothing. The fox won't come, and that's knowledge you'll never use in your life. The sky was clear blue, white clouds drifting lazily, a stark contrast to the schemes and calculations unfolding on the ground. While picking, Seo Yun-yun suddenly roared, his voice full of anger. Manager Jeon, how many more times do I have to tell you, not those berries? You're not even listening to me, are you? He scolded Manager Jeon for picking the wrong kind of berries. Manager Jeon stammered an apology. Sorry about that. Seo Yun-yun coldly warned that those berries could kill him. Those berries will kill you if you eat them. Understand? Manager Jeon hastily discarded the poisonous berries, his face pale. Seo Yun-yun watched, his hands still full of safe berries, his eyes devoid of emotion. Manager Jeon slumped to the ground, panting. Wait. Ugh. Need a break. I've been digging non-stop for these herbs. He complained about the incessant digging, begging for a rest. Seo Yun-yun looked at Manager Jeon, memories of his early days at the company stirring within him. This is exactly how Jeon Myung-hoon used to bully me when I first joined the company. He urged him to rest quickly and get back to work. We need to finish before sunset, so take a short break and hurry up. A branch with vibrant red berries, hidden among the fresh green leaves, served as a reminder of the forest's beauty and potential danger. While digging, Manager Jian suddenly exclaimed in surprise, "What is this? Wild ginseng?" He discovered a giant, strangely shaped wild ginseng root growing deep underground. Manager Jian trembled as he held the ginseng root, his eyes wide. "It's incredibly thick. Is this really that legendary ginseng root?" He couldn't believe his eyes. Seo Yunyun approached, confirming it was indeed ginseng. "Oh, Tilda. It really looks like ginseng. However," he added, "it was a special kind, although it's a type of ginseng called guangji." Seo Yunyun's eyes gleamed with thought. He realized that this guangji ginseng was abnormally large because it had absorbed the abundant spiritual energy of this place. He mused that while useless to immortals, this was a precious panacea that could help martial artists enhance their internal energy, and might even help Manager Kim. Manager Jian joyfully discovered 2 more ginseng roots. He asked Seo Yunyun if it was all right to harvest so many, and Seo Yunyun agreed, advising him to be careful. Seo Yunyun looked towards the horizon, the sunset glowing blood red, a strange energy surging. He sensed something ominous and decided to retreat. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light tore through the night, energy exploding violently, shaking the entire forest. Manager Jian writhed on the ground, blood flowing from his mouth, screaming in extreme pain. Assistant Manager Oh also clutched his chest, collapsing, his face contorted by the sudden onset of pain. The remaining people also fell prostrate, in extreme panic. Assistant Manager Oh looked around in shock, not understanding what was happening. From the air, 3 mysterious figures descended. The one in the yellow robe spoke, surprised to find such precious origin stones, and declared them all his. The one in blue armor sneered, calling Heo Guok by name and mocking his shamelessness. Assistant Manager Oh raised his head, stammering to ask the strangers' identities. Heo Guok coldly swept his gaze over the crowd, declaring that only 3 possessed spiritual root bones, while the rest were weak mortals. Suddenly, Heo Guok raised his hand, a brilliant golden lightning orb exploding in his palm, streaks of electricity powerfully arcing through the air. The golden lightning struck Manager Jian directly, causing him to convulse and scream miserably. Assistant Manager Oh cried out his name in horror. Heo Guok smirked, admiring Manager Jian's heavenly golden thunder body. Suddenly, the woman holding the Pippa stepped forward, telling him to move aside as it was her turn. The girl in the white jacket's eyes widened. In extreme fear, she could only let out a weak whimper. The woman holding the Pippa swung her hand. A destructive purple energy burst forth, sweeping away the remaining people. The woman in black laughed maniacally, her purple eyes glowing brightly. Having just unleashed a destructive blow, she now exclaimed in shock about a legendary yin transformation soul-guiding root bone, unable to believe it truly existed. A heavy footstep landed on the ground, dust and leaves scattering. The appearance of these strangers had completely overturned everything. Byoko placed his hand on Assistant Manager Oh, whose body emitted a strange green light. Byoko laughed loudly, astonished by Oh's single-vein saint body, while Oh panicked, not understanding what was happening. Heo Guok smirked, declaring he would take the 3 as disciples of the Heavenly Creation sect. He asserted that each possessed talent capable of overturning this entire world. The offer was like a command, echoing in the silent space, forcing the mortals to make a life or death choice. Assistant Manager Oh writhed, suffocating under invisible pressure. He clearly felt the terrible oppression, knowing that refusal meant imminent death. The woman with the Pippa scoffed, advising Oh to join the Black Ghost Bone Valley because they possessed all cultivation techniques. Manager John Myung-hoon was indignant, while the promise of immortality echoed enchantingly. A treasure chest full of gold, silver, and jewels appeared, with promises of power to overturn heaven and earth, of ultimate wealth and glory within 100 years, swaying the hearts of mortals. Among the mysterious figures, Assistant Manager Oh was anxious, begging to be taken out of this deadly forest. He knew well that if he stayed here, death was inevitable. A hand gently opened an exquisite jade vase, and a faint white smoke escaped, carrying some mystery. Heo Guok scornfully looked at the glowing Assistant Manager Oh, mocking the mortal's anxiety. He wondered how, with such weak bodies, they could have set foot on this sacred mountain. Byoko carried the heavily injured Manager Jeon Myung-hoon. Heo Guok looked at the wound, deducing that he had voluntarily offered himself to the fox. Assistant Manager Oh knelt, one arm glowing green and bleeding. The mysterious figure praised the mortal spirit, causing Oh to weakly utter thanks. Byoko carried Manager Jeon Myung-hoon away, along with Heo Guok and the woman in black. They declared they had eliminated all demons on their way here, ensuring the mountain's safety for the next decade. The man in the orange jacket frantically chased after them, begging the mysterious figures to stop. He shouted loudly, desperate because he didn't know how to escape this perilous forest. In the deep night, the three strangers soared upwards, leaving behind the desperate cries of mortals. The man in the orange jacket screamed, begging them to stop, calling out Manager Jian, Assistant Manager O, and another person's name. Seo Yunyan watched the disappearing figures, his gaze pensive. He recalled the feeling of helplessness from 50 years ago. Just like 50 years ago. No matter how much we screamed until our throats were hoarse, they still treated us like insects and simply left. He raised his arm, a faint scar visible. He whispered, his voice full of bitterness, although at least they grew my arm back for me. A streak of green light shot across the night sky, like a meteor plummeting. The man in the orange jacket panicked, gasping. Damn it! What are we supposed to do in this forest? He looked up at the mysterious streak of light, his heart full of fear and doubt. These stars are trying. Is there something in that direction? The next day, the sky rumbled, filled with thunder and lightning, unleashing a fierce storm upon the forest, as if to swallow all life. In a damp cave, Assistant Manager O lay unconscious, injured and coughing up blood, his breath weak, in critical condition. The girl in the green shirt supported Assistant Manager O, her face full of worry, appealing to Seo Yunyan. Mr. Seo, Assistant O's condition is very bad. Are there any herbs that can help now? What should we do? Seo Yunyan turned his back, his torn sleeve revealing a dried bloodstain. He calmly replied, his tone harboring an inexplicable confidence. Wait a little longer. Someone might appear who can cure Assistant O's condition. The remaining people, including the man in the orange jacket and the man in the black suit, looked at Seo Yunyan with surprise, not understanding his words. A skeptical, "Huh?" rang out. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the cave entrance, their footsteps light yet powerful. Only a pair of feet wearing traditional shoes could be seen, stepping into the flickering firelight. The mysterious man, tall and dressed in luxurious traditional attire, emerged from the shadows. He looked at the mortals with disdain, mortals in ascending immortal village. Like ants crushed in the struggle between true dragons, the man in the orange jacket and the man in the black suit recoiled in horror, the man in the orange jacket stammering, "Who are you?" The stranger smiled mysteriously, his jade green hair and small horn on his head clearly visible. He slowly spoke, his tone full of self-satisfaction. The Sea Dragon King. He paused for a beat, then grandly declared his identity, plunging the entire cave into astonishment. Seo Yul. The dark cave entrance swirled with an unusual storm. A powerful ritual was taking place. Someone exclaimed in surprise, "Oh, is this the storm ritual?" The Sea Dragon King, Seo Yul, with a graceful yet authoritative appearance, stood in the middle of the cave. He explained, "Yes, a sudden storm arose in the sky. I followed that disturbance to its source, and the girl lying there is the one performing the ritual." Seo Yul's emerald eyes swept over the unconscious maiden, a sneer appearing on his lips. He couldn't help but wonder, how can a mortal girl without a spirit core wield such overwhelming power? And she's not even aware of it. How strange. Seo Yunyan, with an injured arm, stepped forward to confront Seo Yul. He couldn't suppress his confusion and indignation. Actually, we are the ones who are confused. We've only been here for a short time, yet these great immortals keep appearing out of nowhere and taking our colleagues. Hearing Seo Yunyan's words, Seo Yul burst into hearty laughter, his laughter echoing throughout the cave, as if he had just heard the most ridiculous joke in the world. With a smile still lingering on his lips, Seo Yul looked at Seo Yunyan, his tone full of mockery. "So, you're saying some of your colleagues have outstanding talent, and then these powerful cultivators suddenly appeared at just the right time to take them away?" He continued to scoff, hinting at the strange coincidences in all the events. "And now, I've appeared before this girl at just the right time too?" Seo Yunyan could only reluctantly nod. Yes. The smile on Seo Yul's lips faded, replaced by a stern expression, his emerald eyes sharp and cold. He looked directly at Seo Yunyan, questioning, "Tell me, outsider, do you know where this is?" Seo Yul floated in midair amidst a dazzling light, declaring, "This place is called the Path of Ascension, also known as the Gate of Heaven, a passage leading to the upper realm." He continued to explain that in just a few months, a spatial rift called the Gate of Heaven would open, a once-in-a-millennium event. At the Path of Ascension, countless high-level cultivators and divine beasts would gather, awaiting the opportunity to ascend to the upper realm, a magnificent and overwhelming sight. He warned that the chance of encountering powerful cultivators like himself would be very high, a reminder of the insignificance of mortals before the cultivation world. Seo Yunyan mused, "I see. But the man in the orange shirt panicked. But those people said they would take our colleagues into their sect. He questioned, if their colleagues were to ascend to the upper realm, then how could they join the sects of those people? A question full of doubt and worry. Seo Yul let out a cold snort, his sleeve fluttering slightly. He looked at the mortals with disdain. You outsiders. You probably don't understand how cultivators operate. Seo Yul smiled mysteriously, his hand caressing a white jade vase. He explained that one of their techniques could shrink colossal structures, storing them in magical artifacts like this vase. He continued, saying that perhaps other sects had also sealed their factions in a similar manner, awaiting the opening of the gate of heaven to ascend together. And then, a shocking truth was revealed. Sea Yul had also done the same, sealing one of the Sea Dragon clan's castles into his magical artifact. Inside, a magnificent sight appeared, a splendid castle floating amidst the clouds, and he declared that 1,800 members of his clan were sleeping soundly within. Seo Yunyan and the others were utterly astonished, speechless before this extraordinary truth. Seo Yul approached the unconscious girl, gently placing his hand on her forehead. He whispered that, though strange, if accepted into the Sea Dragon clan, the girl could become a formidable force. The man in the orange shirt rushed forward in a panic, continuously shouting, "Wait! Oh no! Assistant manager, oh!" He writhed on the ground, a painful groan escaping his throat. The pain seemed to pierce through him, making him grit his teeth, his eyes wide with despair. Seo Yul lifted the unconscious girl, his eyes cold as he declared, "I will bestow my blood upon this girl and accept her as a royal blood relative," he continued, saying this would be good for both of them, then offered a cryptic piece of advice. "And let me give you a piece of advice." His eyes flashed with an eerie green, a smile hinting at disdain. "Don't casually question high-level cultivators like that." Seo Yunyan and the man in the orange shirt writhed in pain on the ground, their breathing heavy and labored. Seo Yul smirked, his foot slightly raised as if to stomp, saying they were lucky he was patient enough to answer. He concluded that most cultivators would crush them like insects, just for a casual question. Thunder and lightning tore across the sky, signaling a terrifying event about to strike, ripping through the gloomy night. Amidst the raging storm, a colossal blue dragon roared, its power shaking heaven and earth like a warning to mortals. Suddenly, the scenery changed, with brilliant golden sunlight and lush green trees, but the echoing words were full of unease, like a prophecy. "Everyone has been kidnapped." The brown-haired girl sat down, her face distraught, unable to believe what was happening. She exclaimed, "What the hell is this?" First, a landslide. She clutched her head, a dry, panicked laugh escaping her. "Then, immortals and dragons kidnapped my colleagues. Ha-ha." He and the man in the orange shirt stood beside her, watching helplessly. Seo Yunyan gently placed a hand on the girl's shoulder, comforting her amidst the chaos and despair that enveloped them. The girl looked up at him, her eyes pleading, as if clinging to a last shred of hope. "Assistant Yunyan, you're not allowed to be kidnapped either." With tears welling up, she choked out, "If even you are taken, I can't survive in this forest without you." Seo Yunyan looked at her, his face pensive, then uttered a cold, fateful remark. "Unfortunately, time's up." The brown-haired girl burst into sobs, her panicked scream tearing through the air, signaling something even more terrifying was about to happen. "Hey!" An invisible pressure descended, forcing the girl and the man in the orange shirt to their knees in extreme pain. Seo Yunyan remained standing, looking forward. Something is coming. What else is happening?" A flock of birds scattered frantically across the blue sky. An ominous sign, foreshadowing the arrival of uninvited guests. The man in the orange shirt, terrified, pointed forward, his voice trembling. "They're here," he stammered, disbelieving his eyes. "Huh?" A majestic white-bearded elder appeared on the back of a white lion-shaped mechanical beast. He looked down, frowning, full of bewilderment. "What? Outsiders? Wait, how can people without spirit cores walk on the path of ascension?" The elder smirked, a triumphant expression on his face, as if he had just uncovered a shocking secret. "Oh, I see. With the gate of heaven about to open, the surrounding space becomes unstable. They must have been caught in a spatial storm. I truly am a genius." The white-bearded elder, with a cunning expression, looked down at the lost individuals. He spoke with authority, questioning the power that had just erupted. A sinister smile spread across his lips, his shrewd eyes narrowing behind his monocle. He had figured something out, a shocking secret. The man in the orange shirt and the girl in the green shirt trembled, terrified by the elder's sudden appearance. They were just ordinary people, lost in a strange world. An invisible force suddenly lifted the two into the air, causing them extreme panic. Below them was a bottomless abyss. Above them, the mysterious elder. In that life-or-death moment, Seo Yunyan rushed forward, his eyes resolute. He couldn't stand by and watch his colleagues suffer. With lightning speed, Seo Yunyun forcefully pushed the man in the orange shirt, taking the mysterious attack in his stead. A loud sound echoed, and rocks scattered. The man in the orange shirt narrowly escaped death, turning back to look at Seo Yunyun with a surprised and grateful expression. Seo Yunyun's back was torn open, fresh blood soaking his shirt. Despite the extreme pain, he still tried to reassure his colleague. The white-bearded elder approached the girl in the green shirt, gently touching her chin. He made an enchanting offer, promising latent power. Tears streamed down the girl's cheeks as she desperately called out the names of her companions. The elder's offer could not dispel her fear and attachment. The elder frowned, his expression displeased. He could not accept the girl's weakness and worldly attachment. The space trembled. Seo Yunyun and the man in the orange shirt were lifted once more, writhing in extreme pain. Their lives were like candles in the wind. The elder coldly declared he would sever all the girl's attachments. She screamed in despair, begging him to spare her colleagues' lives. The elder's sharp, cold gaze fixed on the girl. She had no choice but to accept her cruel fate. No sooner had the elder's cold declaration ended than Seo Yunyun and the man in the orange shirt were flung into the air by an invisible hand, falling straight to the ground. The white-bearded elder, his eyes blazing, unleashed a surge of purple energy. If they remain, you will be forever bound. I will cast them into one of the nearby mortal realms through a random spatial rift. Even I do not know where they will end up. A brilliant spatial gate suddenly appeared, swallowing Seo Yunyun and the man in the orange shirt into its destined vortex. The gate transformed into a deep, swirling black hole, devouring the two outsiders. The man in the orange shirt cried out in panic. "What the hell is this? Damn it, I need to get the herbs!" The girl in the green shirt screamed in despair as the spatial gate closed, taking Seo Yunyun with it. She collapsed to her knees, helplessly watching his disappearing figure. The space suddenly darkened, leaving only distant hawking voices. The finest silk from this land. Today's goods include scriptures from the divine empire. When the light returned, Seo Yunyun and the man in the orange shirt lay unconscious on the cold stone floor. His shirt torn, blood staining a large patch of his back. Seo Yunyun stirred slightly, his brown eyes slowly opening, vaguely looking around. Huh? He sat up, his head spinning, watching the strangely dressed people pass by. Where are we? Before him was a completely unfamiliar scene. Ancient streets, hawkers, and vibrant, old-fashioned attire. He walked among the crowd, feeling out of place. In my previous life, I never set foot in a place like this. A man in a green hat looked at him, thinking, "What the hell is this lunatic wearing?" He walked on the cobblestone path, pondering the white-bearded elder's words. So the old cultivator was right. The place we landed truly is random. But this path, why does it feel so strangely familiar? He looked up at the azure sky, a spark suddenly flashing in his eyes. Ah, I see. This is where I once lived. He turned his back, revealing his torn shirt and terrible wound. Yang capital, West City. An ancient city gate opened up to another world, where curved tiled roofs and bustling crowds in traditional attire created a vibrant scene. In a hidden corner, broken wooden barrels lay scattered, suggesting the recent chaos. The man in the orange robe exclaimed in bewilderment, "I don't even know what's happening anymore." Seo Yunyun leaned against the wall, his face weary. He replied to the man in the orange robe, "Indeed, it's no joke." The man in the orange robe wished, if only this were just a dream. Panic was evident on the man in the orange robe's face as he looked around, unable to believe what was happening. He wondered, "Sigh, I can't believe we're the only ones left behind like this. Or perhaps we should be grateful we weren't taken by those monster-like creatures?" Seo Yunyun just silently looked at him, then softly said, "I don't know either." He recalled his previous life, when he was just a weak pharmacist, kneeling before the powerful. He thought to himself, even though I've returned from my previous life, back then I was still just a weak pharmacist. Unable to keep hiding, Seo Yunyun decided, "We can't keep hiding in this alley. Let's go out and see." The man in the orange robe reluctantly agreed. All right." A panoramic view of Yon Imperial City, West City, appeared majestically from above, with ancient buildings and wide streets. A completely unfamiliar world. Crowds bustled on the streets, everyone dressed in traditional attire, creating a vibrant yet alien scene for the two people from the modern world. The man in the orange robe confusedly asked Seo Yunyun, "Huh? What language is that? It sounds like Chinese." He continued to wonder, why are people whispering and pointing at us? Seo Yunyun turned to look, explaining, "They're saying our clothes look ridiculous." The man in the orange robe suddenly noticed the wound on Seo Yunyun's back, exclaiming in horror, "Wait! You?" Seo Yunyun smiled reassuringly at the man in the orange robe, ignoring the blood soaking through his back. He said, Don't worry too much, boss. I know a little Chinese. The man in the orange robe looked at Seo Yunyun with a guilty expression. Your back is in that state because of me. Then he sighed. Well, I guess we're lucky. Seo Yunyun thought to himself. The language here wasn't Chinese, even though the characters seemed similar. He realized, the language of this world isn't Chinese. Even though the characters look similar to Chinese, it's nothing like actual Chinese. He recalled his previous life. When trying to learn basic communication, he was mocked by beggars for 2 months. A voice echoed, Idiot, haha. Seo Yunyun firmly declared that the mocked past would not repeat. He suggested buying clothes, but the man in the orange robe worried, Huh? How can we buy anything? Our money probably isn't usable here. An ancient pharmacy appeared amidst the streets, where the mysteries of the new world could be unveiled. The white-bearded pharmacy owner was utterly astonished upon seeing the ginseng root, exclaiming, Oh my, esteemed sir, are you truly selling such a rare treasure to our humble pharmacy? The old man, astonished, confirmed the ginseng was at least 800 years old, valuing it at 15 taels of silver. Seo Yunyun stood there, his expression calm. 15 taels of silver. Seo Yunyun gave a profound smile, realizing this was an enormous fortune he had never touched in his previous life. Seo Yunyun cleared his throat, urging the old man to pay. The pharmacy owner hastily replied, overjoyed, as if he had struck gold.
Yes, Sir Tilda.
The clear blue sky, with fluffy white clouds, seemed to herald a new beginning for Seo Yunyun's journey. The man in the orange robe's jaw dropped, unable to believe his eyes, as Seo Yunyun led him to a large, ancient house. What? Is this the house we bought? Seo Yunyun smiled, confirming this was their new home and promising to teach him the language of this world. The man in the orange robe happily thanked him. Yes, from today we'll live here. I'll also teach you how to read the language of this world. Haha, thank you, Assistant Seo. Seo Yunyun mused. Though he spoke lightly, after bribing officials for documents and buying land, they only had 1 tael of silver left. He realized, this is the capital indeed. Everything is ridiculously expensive. Seo Yunyun turned his back, the bloodstains on his clothes still visible, a reminder of the dangers they had faced. The man in the orange robe suggested calling each other by name instead of title. Hey, since we're no longer colleagues, why don't we call each other by name instead of title? Seo Yunyun agreed. Certainly, Section Chief. The man in the orange robe smiled brightly, thanked him, then called Seo Yunyun by name. Thank you, Seo Yunyun. Night fell. A full moon hung suspended over the rooftops, illuminating their thoughts. Under the flickering oil lamp, Seo Yunyun thought to himself, the enormous sum of money they quickly acquired was thanks to selling the medicinal herbs gathered in the forest. Under the moonlight, Seo Yunyun thoughtfully gazed at the pile of precious medicinal herbs. He knew that once they ran out, life would again fall into hardship, forcing him to find new ways to survive. Kim Young-hoon sat at the table, thoughtfully asking Seo Yunyun about their livelihood. He replied, we can use the remaining silver from selling the medicinal herbs to start a business. Seo Yunyun looked into the distance, his eyes glinting with calculation. He thought, with a decent amount of capital and Kim Young-hoon's talent, at least they wouldn't have to worry about food and clothing. But that still wasn't enough. If he had been granted a second chance at life, Seo Yunyun told himself, he had to set even higher goals. Kim Young-hoon sat there, his face thoughtful. Seo Yunyun looked at him, suddenly remembering. Kim Young-hoon was once a martial arts prodigy. In his previous life, Kim Young-hoon only read cheap martial arts manuals sold in the market. Yet, in just a few months, he mastered them, becoming one of the strongest martial artists in Yeon's martial arts world. Eventually, he learned advanced techniques, reaching the pinnacle, and was hailed as the kingdom's foremost blade. Seo Yunyun gave a mysterious smile, thinking, if someone like him were taught advanced martial arts from the very beginning, what would happen? An old man with white hair and beard, carrying a great saber, stood towering amidst a fiery landscape, a symbol of the title Kingdom's Foremost Blade. I can help him achieve that title 30 years earlier than in his previous life, Seo Yunyun thought to himself, his eyes full of ambition. He sneered, telling himself he would cling to Kim Young-hoon to benefit. Then he said, Leader, this is a world where martial arts and the martial world truly exist. Seo Yunyun continued, in a place like this, simply doing honest business is too naive. We don't know when we'll be targeted by martial arts thugs. So, learning some self-defense would be better. Kim Young-hoon was surprised, then chuckled. Self-defense? But martial arts manuals aren't easily passed on to outsiders, are they? Can we even learn them? Seo Yunyun looked at Kim Young-hoon, chuckling inwardly. He talks like a martial arts novel nerd. He's clearly interested already. In the vast West City, 7 powerful great sects had shaped the martial world, their reputations echoing far and wide. Among them, Sword Demon Sect, Precepts Temple, Moon-Gazing Pavilion, and Seven Sages Hall were the four righteous sects, pillars of justice. Additionally, Crimson Fang Sect, Night Shadow Sect, and Poison Dragon Sect were the three demonic sects lurking in the shadows. All were collectively known as the Four Stars and Three Eagles. The Sword Demon Sect specialized in swordsmanship and saber techniques. The Precepts Temple was rooted in Buddhism. The Moon-Gazing Pavilion was an intelligence network, and the Seven Sages Hall was proficient in all arts. As for the demonic sects, information about them was scarce, but everyone knew they were famous for their stealth, lightness skills, and illicit activities. The man in the light blue robe smiled and asked Kim Young-hoon, "So, Section Chief, which sect is the most appealing?" Kim Young-hoon replied without hesitation, "Clearly, the Sword Demon Sect." Kim Young-hoon continued, his eyes full of passion. "Any true hero must master swordsmanship, and a real man should use a saber." Seo Yunyan looked at Kim Young-hoon, thinking inwardly, "In your previous life, you became the kingdom's foremost blade." Kim Young-hoon asked in surprise, "But how do you know all of this?" Seo Yunyan replied, "Haha, I accidentally overheard some martial artists talking about it at the government office." 3 months later, an ancient architectural complex appeared under the dazzling sunlight, heralding a new beginning for their journey. At the gate, the gatekeeper in the yellow robe asked, "Excuse me, what brings you here today?" Kim Young-hoon replied, "This man is my elder brother. We have heard of the Sword Demon Sect's reputation and have come here hoping to learn martial arts." The martial artist in the orange robe, with a dignified demeanor, crossed his arms thoughtfully, his gaze scrutinizing the pair before him. The gatekeeper in the yellow robe glanced at Kim Young-hoon, thinking inwardly, "They look like they have money." Then he said, "I apologize. You cannot enter at this age." Kim Young-hoon smiled, offering a coin. "Haha, but can't we at least speak to someone higher ranked? Even basic self-defense skills would be enough." The gatekeeper in the yellow robe asked, "So you wish to learn martial arts for self-defense?" Kim Young-hoon smiled, opening a box full of gold ingots. "Yes, ideally the best self-defense techniques available. Please take care of us, Tilda." The gatekeeper in the yellow robe finally nodded, his face still full of displeasure. He accepted the gold, but only allowed one person to join the outer sect of the Sword Demon Sect. All right. At most, I can register you as an outer disciple of the Sword Demon Sect's branch," he continued, warning not to expect any special treatment, even after paying. Kim Young-hoon and Seo Yunyan entered, Kim Young-hoon's face clearly showing anger upon hearing such stingy words. "But don't expect any special treatment, even if you've paid to enter. Only one of you can be accepted. This is the money we got from selling an ancient ginseng root, and they're still so stingy?" Kim Young-hoon growled, unable to believe the sect's greed. He gritted his teeth, calling them nothing more than a bunch of robbers. "Unbelievable. What a bunch of greedy robbers." Seo Yun-hyun, with a cunning smile, hastily thanked the gatekeeper. He declared that Kim Young-hoon would be the outer disciple, while Kim Young-hoon behind him was still annoyed. "We thank this esteemed sir for this opportunity. Our elder brother will join as an outer disciple." The gatekeeper in the yellow robe turned his back, putting the box of gold inside. He ordered the two to go to the outer hall later, without looking back. Then you can go to the outer hall in a bit." Kim Young-hoon placed a hand on Seo Yunyan's shoulder, wondering about this arrangement. He lamented that if he had known it would be this expensive, he would have gone to another sect. "Seo Yunyan, what's the point if only I get to learn martial arts? If I had known it would be this expensive, I would have gone to another sect." Seo Yunyan smiled reassuringly, saying he was never good at physical things. He would use the remaining silver to do business, supporting Kim Young-hoon to focus on cultivating martial arts. "It's all right. I was never good at physical things anyway. I'll do business with the remaining silver and support you, leader. So just focus on mastering martial arts." Kim Young-hoon was moved to tears, promising to give his all if Seo Yunyan had such resolve. "If you feel that way, then I will also give my all." He worried if this aging body could learn any decent techniques. Seo Yunyan encouraged him, telling him to believe in himself, that he could do it. "I just hope this aging body can learn a proper technique. Believe in yourself. You can do it, leader." Time passed. The ancient structures of the sect appeared majestically under the sunlight, heralding a new beginning. 7 months later, an intersect martial arts competition took place, attracting numerous disciples and elders, promising fierce contests. A sect leader, in a dark blue robe, with a long beard, sat on a chair, his face clearly showing extreme astonishment and anger. He couldn't believe what was happening. "What the hell is this? What the hell is going on?" Around him, numerous disciples in orange robes lay scattered, unconscious. The sect leader roared, unable to accept that an unknown person had defeated his most elite disciples. An unknown person appeared out of nowhere, defeating my top disciples, those destined to lead the sect. The entire sword demon sect, renowned for its solemnity, was now plunged into chaos and shocked by this unexpected outcome. To master martial arts, one must grasp its profound meaning and immerse themselves in each move. Two orange-robed swordsmen are dueling. One with long hair attacks relentlessly, while the short-haired one defends steadily. A third-rate martial artist, if they understand the meaning of martial arts, can rise to second-rate by integrating it into their own perception. The long-haired man's sword tore through the wind, but the short-haired young man dodged, leaving only a streak of blood. To advance further, one needs double the comprehension, time, and effort. 3 other orange-robed disciples charged, surrounding the short-haired young man, shouting, "You damn outsider!" But sometimes, those with exceptional talent scoff at ordinary levels of comprehension. The short-haired young man spun around, his swordsmanship like a storm, repelling all attacks. He could surpass multiple stages at once with terrifying speed. Each of the short-haired young man's moves was sharp and decisive, giving his opponents no time to react. The demonic cult, the renowned sect of Seokyung City, was home to such talented martial artists. The dignified dark blue-robed sect leader sat on his throne with 2 brown-robed bodyguards watching the battle. People possess talent in various fields, but martial arts talent is something few acquire. A massive, ancient-looking architectural complex of the sect stood majestically under the sunlight. However, an outsider appeared, challenging and defeating the direct disciples of this great sect. An orange-robed disciple stood on the field, looking towards the arena, his face filled with astonishment. 2 orange-robed disciples lay slumped on the ground, swords scattered, muttering, "Ugh, ugh." They had been miserably defeated. In just 7 months, Kim Young-hoon became a first-rate martial artist, one who had fully comprehended the demonic cult's Dragon Blade ultimate technique. The short-haired young man was now a proud warrior, raising his sword high. Reaching first-rate after only half a year of martial arts training, the first-rate level is a realm that can only be achieved through the combined efforts of many talented martial artists. The dark blue-robed sect leader gnashed his teeth in anger, his face full of fury. Moreover, he is an outsider who learned martial arts within our sect. For others, this would be like the sect leader's eyes widened, blazing with rage. Our traditions have been forced to kneel before a single individual. His words echoed, shaking the entire sect. "Seize him immediately!" On the rooftops of the buildings, numerous orange-robed disciples had gathered, ready to carry out the order. The entire demonic cult was frantically hunting for Kim Young-hoon. The outsider, in 7 months, had reached the Elder Realm, shaking the sect. He, the beige-robed man, with deep-set eyes, seemed to be contemplating something. In that chaotic situation, Kim Young-hoon, the talented director, was placed under house arrest. He was suspected of being a spy from another sect, but in his cell, he continued to practice his sword, his moves sharp as a storm. However, the beige-robed man didn't understand. He rubbed his head, his face puzzled as he too was caught in the whirlpool of suspicion. He said, "I don't know why I'm also suspected when I don't know martial arts. I was arrested while at the market." Kim Young-hoon continued to wield his sword, his gaze resolute. The beige-robed man sat opposite him and asked, "Aren't you worried, Director?" Kim Young-hoon merely scoffed, replying, "Ha ha, worried about what?" He was worried for Kim Young-hoon, because in wuxia novels, spies often have their qi crippled or meridians severed, about them suspecting you're a spy. Kim Young-hoon's sword blade reflected the light, sharp and unyielding. Kim Young-hoon smiled confidently, his hand still on his sword. He acknowledged the beige-robed man's words, but felt an invisible wall appearing. "That's right, but for some reason, I think I'm getting close to the next wall. And if I overcome it, I think I can advance to the next stage." The beige-robed man was utterly astonished. He couldn't believe Kim Young-hoon was progressing so quickly. What kind of monster is this? He only recently became a first-rate martial artist, and now he's already close to reaching the next stage? Beyond the first-rate realm, the pinnacle of martial arts awaited. It was a challenging path that few ever reached. That realm was where the leaders of great sects or elders resided. In Yang Kingdom, they were called peerless masters, and there were only about 1,000 of them in the entire country. The martial arts world had never mentioned a higher realm. The pinnacle of martial arts was, essentially, the final realm one could achieve. All of the beige-robed man's assumptions were wrong. Kim Young-hoon had far exceeded all expectations. The beige-robed man smiled contentedly, his eyes sparkling with calculation. He realized that at this rate, the birth of the world's greatest swordsman would be accelerated by 40 years, not 30. 7 days later, a new chapter unfolded. 7 days later, Kim Young-hoon sat in meditation, 3 vibrant blue chi lotuses hovering around him, symbols of a profound martial arts realm. He gently exhaled a stream of blue chi, as if shedding all burdens, his gaze more resolute than ever. The beige-robed man exclaimed in astonishment, realizing this was three flowers gathering at the peak, a realm that only appeared among peak martial artists. Kim Young-hoon stood up, his aura soaring, declaring, "I have overcome the barrier. I no longer fear the leader of the exterminating demonic cult." The beige-robed man smiled, his eyes full of admiration. "Well, your talent far exceeds my imagination." Kim Young-hoon drew his sword, confidently replying, "I'm also impressed with myself. I never knew I had such talent. Perhaps that's why I always loved wuxia novels when I was young." Suddenly, a group of gray-robed and orange-robed individuals burst in, their hurried footsteps shattering the quiet atmosphere. The angry gray-robed man held up a scroll declaring, "Listen here, Young-hoon and his accomplice. We have orders from the leader to cripple the Chi-Si of the spy who dared to steal the exterminating demonic cult's martial arts." Kim Young-hoon merely smirked, his eyes cold, seemingly unconcerned by the accusation. The gray-robed young man, his accomplice, raised his hand in protest, a gray-robed soldier pointing a sword at his throat. "I said I'm not a spy. We're just." The gray-robed soldier punched the young man in the face, shouting, "Shut up! We even heard you two speaking in code! Subdue them!" In that moment of extreme tension, Kim Young-hoon's hand tightened on his sword hilt, his eyes flashing with killing intent. A sharp, cold slash rang out. Kim Young-hoon had swung his sword, cutting straight into the gray-robed soldier who was attacking his accomplice. Fresh blood splattered. The gray-robed soldier clutched his severed arm, screaming in pain amidst the shock of those around him. After the fatal sword strike, Kim Young-hoon let out a sigh of relief, his cold eyes sweeping over the terrified individuals. He muttered, "This is my first sect." The shock quickly turned into fury. A black-bearded, orange-robed disciple roared, "You! How dare you!" He swung his sword, charging straight at Kim Young-hoon. But all resistance was futile. Kim Young-hoon was like a whirlwind, sword light flashing, fresh blood splattering, turning the great hall into a bloody battlefield. Desperate screams echoed as disciples fell. A surviving individual shrieked in horror, "Damn it! He's a peak realm martial artist! Run!" He hastily fled, trying to report to the leader. Amidst the ruins, Kim Young-hoon turned to Seo Yun-yun, who was kneeling with a pensive expression. He said, "Yun-yun, I intend to go to other sects to train. What do you think?" Though blood still stained his mouth, Seo Yun-yun firmly replied, "I will go with you, senior brother," he suggested. "Or should we go to Dragon Battle Camp, that famous unorthodox sect?" Kim Young-hoon burst into hearty laughter. "Ha ha ha ha, all right. You go ahead, we'll meet there." He looked into the distance, vowing to end the pursuit of the elders and the leader of the exterminating demonic cult. Time passed, and the scenery changed. Majestic mountain peaks stood tall amidst the clouds, witnessing the new journey of the two. On a high mountain, Kim Young-hoon stood, his sword still stained with blood, smiling as he looked down. He called out, "Ho ho, Yun-yun, why are you taking so long?" Seo Yun-yun climbed, panting and drenched in sweat. He forced a laugh. "Ha ha, director is too fast." The cold sword blade was still covered in blood, evidence of the fierce battles Kim Young-hoon had endured. Seo Yun-yun's eyes held a hint of sadness. He thought to himself, "He used to criticize my violence. Even if it's for survival, this world is changing us into something else." Amidst the ancient scenery of the mountain temple, Seo Yun-yun quietly wished. He longed to return, not to this wuxia world, but to a simple life on earth. Seo Yun-yun continued to diligently climb the treacherous cliff, each heavy breath mingling with the thin air. At the summit, Kim Young-hoon stood waiting. He secretly wished, "If I could turn back time, I just want to return to Earth." Despite his longing to escape this wuxia world, Seo Yun-yun knew the harsh reality. He continued to cling on, advancing little by little. "There's nothing else we can do. Since we're here, we must try our best." Memories flooded back. After being betrayed by the demonic slaughter cult, director Kim Young-hoon, with his blood-stained sword, seized Dragon Battle Fortress. The defeated knelt, accepting their fate. 2 years later, Kim Young-hoon began his conquest. He traveled throughout Yang Kingdom, sweeping away all sects, leaving no place untouched. By the 3rd year, not a single sect symbol remained. Under his brutal hand, all were crushed, turning to dust. He became renowned throughout the land as the strongest martial artist. Kim Young-hoon used that prestige to unify the sects, establishing the Martial Arts Alliance, turning them all into one entity. 7 years passed, and the relationship between Kim Young-hoon and Seo Yun-yun grew stronger. Despite their age difference, they regarded each other as blood brothers. Kim Young-hoon dedicated himself to creating a unique martial art for Seo Yun-yun. He handed him a deep blue book. "This is Mountain Severing Sword." Kim Young-hoon explained, "I named it with the hope that you will inherit an unyielding will, capable of cleaving mountains. If you master Mountain Severing Sword, I believe you will reach the pinnacle of martial arts." Seo Yun-yun's eyes lit up. Kim Young-hoon continued, "Not only that, Dragon Vein Qigong was created alongside it. This is a first-rate martial art, far superior to ordinary second-rate and third-rate techniques. But then, a problem arose. The image of Seiyu Yunhyun falling backward, the wooden staff flying from his hand, signaled a harsh truth. An old man stood there, staff in hand, looking at Seiyu Yunhyun kneeling in pain. He spoke, his tone full of disappointment. "But Yunhyun, you truly..." The old man's words cut into Seiyu Yunhyun's heart like a knife. He clutched his head, his face contorted in agony. "No talent. My talent is truly terrible." Even though Kim Young-hoon, the strongest martial artist in the world, had personally created suitable martial arts and taught Seiyu Yunhyun after a year, he only reached a weak third level. The young Seiyu Yunhyun sighed, accepting his fate. "There's probably no other way. At least I have some talent in medicine." One day, after a decade had passed, Seiyu Yunhyun witnessed a horrifying sight again. He stood hidden behind the door, his eyes wide as he looked inside. A white-haired old man was meditating, his body emitting a mystical blue light, energy swirling around him. Seiyu Yunhyun exclaimed in astonishment upon seeing the extraordinary sight, a level he had only heard of in legends, 5 chi returning to the origin. The white-haired old man roared, blinding white light erupting from his eyes and wrinkled face, as if undergoing an extreme transformation. Golden and blue energy swirled around the old man's hands, signaling an earth-shattering power being unleashed. The old man stood up, reaching out to embrace the source of power, his naked body exuding an overwhelming aura, white hair fluttering in the dazzling light. The old man's body shot into the air, spinning in a vortex of brilliant golden energy, like a god being reborn. Seiyu Yunhyun was stunned, his eyes wide, stammering out a name. "Young-hoon? Is that?" Kim Young-hoon, with his muscular physique and long hair, flashed a sinister smile, looking directly at Seiyu Yunhyun. Kim Young-hoon laughed loudly, asking Seiyu Yunhyun,
Ha ha ha! Yunhyun, what are you so surprised about? Bone restructuring.
In the memory, young Seiyu Yunhyun happily said to Kim Young-hoon, who was full of vitality, "Brother, you look even younger than me." Kim Young-hoon replied with a confident smile, "Ha ha! Really? I feel so full of life, as if I can do anything." Seiyu Yunhyun chuckled, and Kim Young-hoon proudly declared, "The world will be shocked when they see you completely transformed." Seiyu Yunhyun nodded in agreement, his eyes full of admiration. "Definitely." The cheerful atmosphere gradually subsided as Seiyu Yunhyun brought up the matter of handing over the Martial Arts Alliance. "By the way, it's time for me to hand over the Martial Arts Alliance to the next leader. It seems no one has caught your eye, brother?" Kim Young-hoon showed a hint of contemplation, sighing. By definition, the leader of the Martial Arts Alliance needs a certain level of martial arts skill, but no one truly understands martial arts. Seiyu Yunhyun smiled, his eyes sparkling with admiration for his friend. "Haha, that's because you're extraordinary. Is there any other genius like you in this world?" Seiyu Yunhyun's words echoed in the space as the scene shifted to a vast martial arts training ground. Hundreds of martial artists were diligently practicing under the sun, but Kim Young-hoon only uttered a, Is that so?" Kim Young-hoon stood high above, silently observing the martial artists diligently practicing below. Despite the large number of people, he still shook his head, his face full of disappointment. Even so, there are no talented people. No talented people. Time passed, and the scene shifted to an ancient, majestic architectural complex, towering between heaven and earth. Returning to the present, an aged Seiyu Yunhyun, with white hair and beard, was practicing calligraphy. His brushstrokes were graceful, but his mind drifted to the past. 35 years have passed since I started my life anew in Deongxiangyang. Old Seiyu Yunhyun sighed and continued writing. He mused, "I'm over 60 now. I wonder where Young-hoon is and what he's doing." The longing for his old friend was evident in his eyes. A year after Kim Young-hoon's transformation, he handed over the position of leader of the Martial Arts Alliance to the next generation and retreated into seclusion. Seiyu Yunhyun gently opened the door, and memories flooded back. Seiyu Yunhyun stood silently, his gaze distant. He recalled, "I also wanted to retire with him then, but to rectify the chaotic Martial Arts Alliance, I had to remain as the strategist of the Martial Arts Alliance for a long time." Kim Young-hoon once said he wanted to wander the martial arts world and travel throughout the Yang Kingdom. Seiyu Yunhyun looked into the distance, towards the hazy mountains. He realized bitterly, perhaps that's why he didn't even come to my retirement ceremony in the end. Old Seiyu Yunhyun walked leisurely in the courtyard, letting out a soft futilda sigh. His steps were heavy, carrying the loneliness and weariness of the years. Looking at the large house he had bought with his retirement money, Seiyu Yunhyun felt an overwhelming emptiness. So lonely. "I bought this house with a big heart with my retirement money. It's too big to live alone. That's the problem." Suddenly, a strange sound broke the silence. A shadow unexpectedly emerged from the bushes, startling Seo Yunyan, who cautiously exclaimed, "Who's there?" A figure in black knelt, gasping for breath. Seo Yunhyun looked down, surprised to recognize Kim Young-hoon, exclaiming, "Brother?" Kim Young-hoon gave a sly smile, his gaze sweeping over his tattered appearance. Seo Yunhyun exclaimed, "No, why are you dressed like a beggar? You didn't even come to my retirement ceremony. Where have you been?" Kim Young-hoon collapsed onto the grass, motionless. Seo Yunhyun quickly bent down, anxiously asking, "What happened?" Kim Young-hoon looked up at Seo Yunhyun, his eyes distant. He once believed he had a talent for martial arts, saying, "Yunhyun, I truly thought I had a talent for martial arts." Seo Yunhyun knelt beside Kim Young-hoon, listening to his confession. "Isn't that right? If you're not a genius, then what are you, brother?" Kim Young-hoon closed his eyes, firmly asserting his talent, believing no one could compare. "That's right. I am clearly a martial arts genius. Perhaps in this Yun kingdom. No, among ordinary people like me, no one can match my martial arts talent." Seo Yunhyun burst out laughing, gently shaking his head at his brother's arrogance. "Ordinary person? Brother, how are you an ordinary person? Who under this sky doesn't know you're the world's #1? Kim Young-hoon's voice deepened, memories of old battles flooding back, his eyes opening hauntingly. "I fought against those cultivators. Do you remember? 35 years ago, those called cultivators kidnapped their comrades, flying through the sky like demons and gods. 35 years ago, those monsters kidnapped our comrades and flew through the sky." Seo Yunhyun's eyes widened, memories of the cultivators suddenly rushing back. Ah, there were cultivators. The cultivators did not easily reveal themselves but secretly operated throughout the Yeon royal family, manipulating the entire Yeon kingdom. After the establishment of the Martial Arts Alliance, as their influence in the Yeon kingdom gradually grew, the power of the cultivators began to seriously interfere. Kim Young-hoon was displeased with that, but fighting them meant fighting the nation itself. So to protect the Martial Arts Alliance, they had no choice but to obey them. For that reason, Kim Young-hoon relinquished his position as leader of the Martial Arts Alliance and, as an ordinary man, decided to confront them himself. Kim Young-hoon ventured forth alone, his steps resolute throughout the Yeon kingdom, hunting for the mysterious cultivators. He tiredly looked up at the sky, recalling his solitary journey. Those cultivators were indeed hard to find, and even when he found one, they completely ignored him, disdaining his martial arts. Then, they vanished like illusions, using flying techniques that left him no chance to grasp. But then, 5 years ago, he finally had a real battle with a cultivator. Seo Yunhyun tensely asked, "So, did you win?" Kim Young-hoon replied simply, "I won." Seo Yunhyun burst into hearty laughter, saying that if Kim Young-hoon had done that while still the leader of the Martial Arts Alliance, he would probably have been caught by the scruff of his neck long ago. Kim Young-hoon trembled, recalling the life-or-death battle with the cultivator who had reached the Chi condensation realm. He continued, his voice full of bitterness, saying that he couldn't even scratch his opponent's fingertip. Hearing this, Seo Yunhyun's face changed in astonishment. That cultivator with a sly smile had said that if he merely touched his body, it would count as a win. "So, I guess I won," he concluded. Seo Yunhyun thoughtfully asked about that Chi condensation realm cultivator, wondering if he was one of the 10 great masters of the cultivation world. "No," Kim Young-hoon replied. He revealed that the person was only at the second lowest realm in the cultivation world, equivalent to a second-rate martial artist in the martial arts world. Seo Yunhyun was utterly shocked, unable to believe his ears. "What the hell are you talking about?" he exclaimed, his face horrified. In both his previous and current lives, he had always known cultivators were terrifying existences. But Kim Young-hoon's martial arts, clearly, had reached a heaven-defying realm. He was someone who could truly float in the air and perform martial arts, soaring through the blue sky like a god. His sword strikes could cut through 1,000-year-old steel and shatter sturdy buildings like tofu. Kim Young-hoon recounted that despite being a martial arts genius against a low-level cultivator, all he could do was lightly scratch the fingertip of the lowest-level cultivator. He admitted his weakness, that he was merely a frog in a well. He concluded, "We can never fight against cultivators. They are like natural disasters." Seo Yunhyun, with an expression of extreme astonishment, was speechless at what he had just heard. Kim Young-hoon continued the story, his hand lightly touching his chest, his gaze resolute. He continued, his voice full of haunting intensity. "Yet today, I cut his wrist." Seo Yunhyun rejoiced, thinking Kim Young-hoon's martial arts had surpassed. But he only shook his head, explaining, "No, he was just wearing a talisman," and his hand grew back. In the memory, Kim Young-hoon held a sword, his face filled with despair as he bid farewell to Seo Yunhyun. "My path of martial arts seems to end here. I came to say goodbye to you today." He clutched his head, laughing bitterly. That cultivator had appreciated his will, and would take him into his cultivation sect. He would start as the youngest disciple. Seo Yunyun was stunned, asking again, "Brother, a cultivator means becoming immortal. Didn't you say it was impossible for a body without spiritual roots?" Kim Young-hoon explained that an ordinary person breaking through the 5 chi realm corresponds to the 5-element spiritual roots that cultivators are born with. He continued to explain that the innate talent of cultivators is something ordinary people like them would have to study their entire lives to achieve. Kim Young-hoon's sword blade was no longer cold steel, but enveloped by a mysterious purple energy, signaling a powerful transformation. He soared into the sky, leaving a farewell, "I will leave now, to pursue a higher realm." Before leaving, he handed Seo Yunyun a scroll instructing, "This book is my last gift to you, take care." Seo Yunyun stared in astonishment at the figure who had just soared into the sky. He still couldn't believe that his elder brother would leave so suddenly, abandoning him in this place. The call elder brother echoed with shock. In Seo Yunyun's hand was an ancient book, recording the secret martial arts techniques of Wulsu Palace, something that could help ordinary people surpass even cultivators. He read, "The Martial Arts of Wulsu Palace. A record of martial arts studied to overcome cultivators. A gift or a burden?" Sadness was evident on his face. He called his elder brother's name in vain. "Elder brother, where are you going, leaving me behind?" His words were filled with loneliness and a sense of abandonment. Time continued to pass, like sparkling dust in endless space, carrying away the ups and downs and changes of a human life. Everything gradually faded into oblivion. The old man's lips trembled, fresh blood staining the corners of his mouth. He uttered bitter, ironic words about his cruel fate. How ironic. 50 years had passed since his rebirth. Now, Seo Yunyun lay on his deathbed. He wondered, "It's been 50 years since I came to this world. Am I going to die from a cold, just like in my previous life?" Fate was mocking him again. Fate. A heavy word, like an invisible curse, persistently clinging, ceaselessly mocking the destiny of mortals. Humans cannot escape fate, no matter how hard they try to resist. He realized only the bed and the type of house changed. In the end, I still die on the same day. A cruel truth. To avoid repeating the regrets of his previous life, he plunged into a new life, intense and busy, to the point of not even considering marriage. He mused, "Not wanting to feel regrets like in my previous life, I lived a new life full of intensity and busyness. So much so that marriage was unimaginable. Thanks to his continuous efforts, he unified the martial arts sects of the Yong Kingdom, reaching the pinnacle of fame and power that anyone would dream of. He had enough wealth and renown to enjoy in the human world." But a tear rolled down the old man's wrinkled eye. All the glory and wealth, the ultimate power, could it buy what he truly yearned for? An unnamed anguish. He regretted, if he had tried harder, could he and Kim Young-hoon have reached heaven? His teeth chattered, an overwhelming sense of helplessness consuming his mind. My teeth are chattering due to an unknown sense of powerlessness. Such deep regret. A final lament echoing in the silent space, filled with all the unfulfilled aspirations of a lifetime. That was his second rebirth. A cruel loop, an inescapable fate, or a final chance to change everything? Opening his eyes, a bewildered gaze pierced through space and time. Familiar scenery appeared. The ancient forest. The legendary path of ascension. He told himself, this is that forest, the path of ascension. He lay sprawled on the grass, feeling his body brimming with energy. He whispered, my body is full of energy. So, the regression wasn't just a one-time thing. Kim Young-hoon rushed over, yelling furiously, "Hey, Assistant Manager Seo, you bastard!" He deftly dodged, astonishing Kim Young-hoon. "You dodged it?" As he glided to avoid the attack, he wondered about his fate. Why did I regress? A new body, full of vitality. A new opportunity. He thought, a new body brimming with energy. And a new opportunity is definitely a good thing. But what about everything he had built over the past 50 years? He questioned, but then, what about everything I've built over the past 50 years? Kim Young-hoon continued to scold, enraged that he dodged. "Hey, you bastard! You almost killed all of us, and now you dare to dodge!" A faded word echoed, regression. He coldly looked at the panting Kim Young-hoon, questioning himself. Is this truly a good thing? No, it's not. His eyes turned sharp, realizing the cruel truth. This is a curse, something that negates the meaning of my life. Kim Young-hoon was still fuming, unaware that he was pondering fate. Certainly, a few regressions might be a welcome opportunity. But what if this continues forever? A horrifying image appeared, like a warning of an endless cycle of reincarnation. I will be trapped in the wheel of fate, forced to drown in the suffering of life until the end of time. He recalled familiar faces from his previous life, people he couldn't meet again. Furthermore, I can no longer meet the people I knew in my previous life. He looked at the people before him, just shadows of the past. The people in front of me now are simply beings with the same appearance as those I knew from my previous life. He recalled familiar faces from his previous life, people he couldn't meet again. Furthermore, I can no longer meet the people I knew in my previous life. He looked at the people before him, just shadows of the past. The people in front of me now are simply beings with the same appearance as those I knew from my previous life. Kim Young-hoon roared in rage, but the man in the orange coat quickly held him back. Jeon Myung-hoon, that's enough. Seo Yoon-yoon thought to himself. The Young-hoon he once considered a brother no longer existed in this world. In the wild setting, Seo Yoon-yoon calmly advised, Jeon Myung-hoon, calm down. What good will anger do now? But Kim Young-hoon still exploded, cursing the man in the black suit. What? You shameless bastard. You were the one driving today from the start. Seo Yoon-yoon looked straight ahead, his tone firm. I warned you before you forced me to drive that I couldn't sleep last night because of the work you dumped on me. He continued to question, his eyes sharp. How could I have dodged an avalanche, rushing down a narrow road? Kim Young-hoon, his face drenched in sweat, could only remain silent, his anger still seething within him. Seo Yoon-yoon turned to Kim Young-hoon, calling him by his title, Young-hoon. Director Kim. I'll find a place where we can take shelter before sunset. The man in the orange coat standing next to him looked surprised. He assigned tasks to the others. Everyone else, please find the car or a way out of this forest. The three remaining people, including the girl in the white coat and the girl in the green dress, listened in silence. After assigning tasks, Seo Yoon-yoon turned and walked away, leaving his final instruction. When the sun sets, I'll light a fire, so find your way there. His silhouette gradually disappeared behind the trees. Night fell, a full moon hanging perfectly in the sky. Seo Yoon-yoon's inner monologue was full of doubt. What's the point of building relationships with these people? In the end, I'll still be alone. In a small cave, a campfire crackled, dispelling the darkness and chill of the night. Everyone else had fallen into a deep sleep, scattered around the fire. Only Seo Yoon-yoon remained awake, his gaze pensive as he looked up at the cave ceiling. He lay there, tossing and turning, thinking about his ability. I fear the endless time regression to come. Infinite regression. This ability must be eliminated. He wondered how to escape the loop. Will it disappear if I somehow return to Earth? Because I always regress to this moment on the path of ascension. Seo Yoon-yoon let out a heavy sigh, his eyes showing clear signs of exhaustion and helplessness. But how can I go home? A memory suddenly flooded back. The image of a bizarre old man with a mad smile. When the gate of ascension opens, the surrounding space becomes unstable, so ordinary people can be swept into a spatial storm. He suddenly realized, that's right, there's a gate of ascension. He sat up abruptly, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. That must be related to why we fell into this world. Perhaps we can return to our original world by using it? Seo Yoon-yoon clenched his fist, determined to become stronger, because a mere mortal couldn't accomplish anything. He walked with firm steps, telling himself he needed to become a cultivator, like Kim Young-hoon, to begin his training. Once he gained a longer lifespan through cultivation, he would have enough time to thoroughly research the Gate of Ascension. Under the bright moonlight, he swore to become a cultivator, changing his own destiny. And then, he would seek out the Gate of Ascension, the only way to return to his original world. In the deep forest, the rustling of leaves was like nature's whisper, welcoming a new journey. He ravenously chewed on the roots, dirt mixing with the bitter taste, determined to absorb all their essence. A powerful surge of chi vibrated in his dantian, signaling the awakening of latent energy. He recalled, in my previous life, I didn't know any cultivation techniques, so these golden bamboo roots were useless. But now that I have the dragon vein chi art that Young-hoon created for me, I can break through blocked meridians. He meditated, a faint light surrounding him, his chi surging. His heart pounded, blood and chi surged throughout his body, every vein seemingly reborn. He sighed, telling himself, healing a body full of preservatives from fast food and stress is no easy feat. The majestic mountains, shrouded in mist, bore witness to the young man's relentless perseverance. On the ground, wood chips lay scattered, waiting to be transformed into useful objects. His hands skillfully sharpened a dry branch with a stone, creating a simple weapon. The simple staff was complete. That's good enough, he told himself, a hint of satisfaction flashing in his determined eyes. The simple staff was complete. That's good enough, he told himself, a hint of satisfaction flashing in his determined eyes. Now, Seo Yoon-yoon began to practice. his figure moving nimbly, the wooden staff swinging to create sharp gusts of wind. Seo Yunyun's eyes gleamed with determination. He recalled his previous life. In my previous life, I was just a mediocre second-rate martial artist. But because I didn't practice near the end of my life, my skills had faded. Standing before the gnarled ancient tree, Seo Yunyun continued to ponder the path of cultivation. Of course, a resounding swish. Seo Yunyun decisively swung his staff, a white surge of energy tearing through the air, striking directly into the tree trunk. A deep gash was clearly visible on the tree trunk, demonstrating the astonishing power of the staff swing. I have everything in my head, so developing my skills is just a matter of time, he told himself, his eyes full of confidence. Suddenly, an astonished voice rang out. "Hey, Assistant Manager Seo, what was that just now?" Kim Young-hoon, with a panicked expression, appeared from behind. Kim Young-hoon, stunned, stepped closer, unable to believe his eyes. How can you cut a tree with a wooden staff? What kind of power is that? Seo Yunyun smiled mysteriously, leaning against the tree. He thought to himself, here he is, the man who will guide me to become a cultivator. He turned to Director Kim, his eyes sparkling with amusement. "Director Kim, would you like to try learning this technique?" Kim Young-hoon's eyes widened in surprise, overjoyed. "Oh, can I really?" A terrifying growl echoed. The ground shook, and the air grew heavy. A gigantic mouth with sharp fangs opened wide, revealing a ferocious appearance. Filthy humans. The gigantic three-tailed fox with glowing red eyes appeared, roaring menacingly, its oppressive aura engulfing the entire forest. "You dare to mock?" Seo Yunyun calmly replied, "Yes." Meanwhile, Kim Young-hoon trembled, his face pale with fear. The three-tailed fox continued to roar. In front of the master of this forest, Kim Young-hoon suddenly snapped back to reality, his face drained of all color. I forgot about him. Bloody scene. Green leaves dyed bright red, signaling a fierce battle had just taken place. Blood splattered. A gruesome tearing sound echoed deep in the forest. Something had been mercilessly ripped apart. The young man, Seo Yunyun, his arm drenched in blood, tried to stay calm. He told himself that in this moment of life and death, he could only suppress the pain, using what little knowledge he had to endure. Right now, the only thing I can do is endure as the fox tears my arm apart and alleviate the pain by pressing acupuncture points. I am weak. Cold sweat poured down Seo Yunyun's face, his eyes reflecting agony. He recalled his previous lives, where weakness had always clung to him, never letting go. In my first life, and my second life, I was weak. While his terrified companions called out, Seo Yunyun continued to walk steadily. Despite imminent danger, he did not falter, moving straight forward. "Assistant Seo, what are you doing?" As Seo Yunyun, his heavy footsteps continued forward, towards the colossal three-tailed fox lurking. Seo Yunyun told himself that even in this third life, fate had not changed. And, even now, in this third reincarnation, he stood, facing the monster, recalling his previous life. Back then, he had chosen the path of cultivation, hoping to find the strength to change his destiny. In my previous life, I decided to become a cultivator after reaching the 5 Tao core. Even after 100 years of arduous training under a master's guidance, his strength was still secondary. In Seo Yunyun's eyes, his talent was nothing compared to other powerful individuals. But even after learning martial arts under the guidance of the best master for over 100 years, I was only considered a second-rate warrior. Compared to the people gathered here, my talent is trash. A painful scream tore through the air. Fresh blood splattered from Seo Yunyun's arm, evidence of the battle's brutality. "Triple ache!" His companions, including Kim Young-hoon, watched the scene in horror. Their screams echoed, full of fear and helplessness. "Ka! Ay! Ay! Assistant Seo!" Seo Yunyun clutched his bloody arm, his eyes still fixed downwards. He knew the road ahead was long, but his will had never extinguished. Whether it's 1,000 years or 10,000 years, Seo Yunyun's face was smeared with blood, but his eyes burned with an unquenchable fire. He would never give up, no matter what he faced. I will not give up. The colossal three-tailed fox licked its lips, its red eyes gazing at Seo Yunyun with desire. It sneered, disdainful of human weakness. "So you are a human who knows his place. You know how to offer yourself as a sacrifice." The three-tailed fox bent down, baring its fangs menacingly. Seo Yunyun looked up, his gaze unwavering, declaring he would offer his arm, but only until he became stronger than it. "So, should I taste it? I will always offer my arm to you, and stop, once I become stronger than you." His arm lost, Seo Yun knelt on the ground. The three-tailed fox soared into the sky, leaving him and the others in heavy silence. After the fox ate my arm, it allowed us to stay and then left. Despite his injury, Seo Yun diligently trained deep in the forest, swinging a wooden staff like a sword, oblivious to everything else. A few days later, cultivators healed his arm, but they also took Seo Yun's companions with them, leaving him and Kim Young-hoon behind. Without eating, sleeping, or resting, Seo Yun persistently swung his sword, each strike imbued with iron will. On the fourth day, he stopped. Before the Sea Dragon King, Seo Yun respectfully bowed, making a request. This humble mortal has something to ask the Sea Dragon King. Sea Dragon King Seo Yul smiled mysteriously, his azure eyes sweeping over Seo Yun. What is it? Seo Yun questioned the Sea Dragon King about his intentions with Ohai Seo, a mortal without a spiritual root. It seems the Sea Dragon King wants to take Miss Ohai Seo. Miss O is just an ordinary person without a spiritual root. Mortals cannot live beyond 100 years. So, what are your intentions for her? Sea Dragon King Seo Yul chuckled faintly, explaining that Ohai Seo would awaken her spiritual root upon receiving his blood. Haha, you are indeed a mortal who understands the state of cultivators. But you don't need to worry. Once this girl accepts my blood, she will awaken a spiritual root suitable for herself. Hearing this, Seo Yun once again made a request, hoping the Sea Dragon King would give them a chance. Then, perhaps you could give us a chance? She comes from the same hometown as us. Perhaps we also have some unique ability. The Sea Dragon King merely smirked, his sharp, cold eyes fixed on Seo Yun. It's you, that's what I mean. A sudden, bone-piercing pain struck. Seo Yun clutched his chest, collapsing in extreme agony. The Sea Dragon King stepped past the writhing Seo Yun, his words carrying coldness and authority. Do not casually express your opinions to a high-level cultivator like me. We have lived for hundreds, thousands of years, and we see what you cannot see and know what you do not know. He turned his head, his emerald eyes glowing with disdain. I have a good temper, so I'll overlook it. But there are cruel ones who, just because you look them in the eye, will tear you apart like an insect and kill you. The sky suddenly became turbulent, lightning flashing continuously, creating a terrifying scene. Kim Young-hoon fearfully looked up, witnessing a colossal blue dragon emerge amidst the lightning bolts. Wait, what is that? After the storm, the sky was clear blue again, the golden sun shining brightly, and green leaves gently fell. In a lush green forest, Seo Yun and the brown-haired girl knelt before the white-haired old man, begging to become disciples. The old man coldly looked down, hearing Seo Yun say, "Respected cultivator, our colleague Kim is just an ordinary person without a spiritual root. How can she become your disciple?" The old man gave a sinister smile, holding a glowing orb. He explained, "This is an extremely precious spiritual medicine that helps open meridians. If consumed, even an ordinary person can have a chance to become an immortal." Seo Yun looked down at his hand in surprise, a spark of hope igniting in his eyes. He thought to himself, so there's another way to become a cultivator. The old man reached out and touched the brown-haired girl's face, continuing to explain, mortals can also reach the 5 Tao core realm by pushing their martial arts to the extreme, but that path is too long and the results are unsatisfactory. Therefore, this method is the best. Suddenly, the old man's expression changed and a surge of purple gold energy erupted, throwing Seo Yun and Kim Young-hoon away. He growled, "All right, you lot are useless now. Get out." The brown-haired girl watched in horror as the energy vortex swallowed her two friends. She cried out in despair, "Wait, Yun. No, no." In the darkness, Seo Yun's eyes suddenly snapped open, reflecting shock and a hint of pain. He woke up, his body hanging upside down from a tree branch, blood soaking his shoulder. Seo Yun looked around in confusion, wondering, This is... He recognized the familiar scene. The southwestern root army of the Yeon Kingdom. Seo Yun looked at Kim Young-hoon lying unconscious on the ground, reminiscing, "In my previous life, just like my second reincarnation, I wandered throughout the Yeon Kingdom with my brother Young-hoon." He continued to ponder. "After more than 100 years of wandering throughout the Yeon Kingdom, there is now almost no place I don't know." Then Seo Yun gently shook Kim Young-hoon. "Director, please wake up." The sky was crystal clear blue. White clouds drifted lazily, and brilliant golden sunlight pierced through the foliage, bringing a strangely peaceful feeling. Seo Yun woke up Director Kim Young-hoon, and both headed towards a nearby city. Along the way, he explained the situation to Kim Young-hoon. Although Director Kim seemed confused, perhaps because too much had happened, he accepted most things. A few days later, they arrived at the nearest city, Chang. There, they sold the herbs obtained from a mortal ascension village and bought a house, starting a new life. He recalled his previous life, when he taught Kim Young-hoon writing and language. In return, he learned the meridian-severing blade technique and witnessed Kim Young-hoon independently modify the mountain-splitting sword technique that he had once created. But now, looking at the current Kim Young-hoon, he couldn't help but sigh. Disappointment crept into his profound gaze. Kim Young-hoon, however, was still immersed in illusions of power, surrounded by a brilliant blue aura. He smugly declared, "I have reached the Three Flowers Gathering at the peak after only 3 months of martial arts training." Sao Yun-yun subtly smirked, pondering. Even with reincarnation, Kim Young-hoon could only reach the realm of a first-class martial artist. Kim Young-hoon burst out laughing, confidently swinging his arm. He believed that with his current strength, he could defeat even Sao Yun-hyun. Sao Yun-hyun subtly sneered, his eyes filled with sarcasm. This Kim Young-hoon was indeed not the brother Young-hoon he had once served. He thought to himself, Kim Young-hoon's mind was still very immature. Compared to the number of lives he had experienced, he was now old enough to be Director Kim's grandfather. He absolutely could not get involved any further. Then he presented an ancient book, decisively declaring, "From today, Director Kim, I will go my own way." Kim Young-hoon's eyes widened, exclaiming in astonishment. Kim Young-hoon panicked, not understanding what was happening. He hurriedly pressed, asking if he had done anything wrong, and wanting to know the real reason. Sao Yun-yun's eyes flashed with determination, and he began to reveal the deeper reason. He spoke of his first life, when Kim Young-hoon became the leader of the Woolen Alliance. But then, he was defeated by a cultivator, falling into despair. By the second life, Kim Young-hoon's fate was not much different. In that life, Kim Young-hoon had created supreme martial arts, fighting against cultivators. But in the end, he still could not contend with a stronger cultivator, falling miserably. Kim Young-hoon disappeared, abandoning martial arts to pursue the path of cultivation. Sao Yun-yun pondered his previous life, wondering if this life would repeat a similar tragedy. A heavy premonition enveloped him. Past pain became clear in Sao Yun-yun's mind as he recalled the image of Kim Young-hoon collapsing, tears streaming down. He swore he would never let that happen again. In his memory, Sao Yun-yun decided to leave to temper himself. Kim Young-hoon, with a panicked expression, pleaded with him not to go. "Can't you do that? How am I supposed to live without you?" Sao Yun-yun reassured Kim Young-hoon, asserting that he was strong enough to be independent. "Director Kim, with your martial arts at your level, you'll live well. I've taught you how to speak, write, and even martial arts. Now you are a top expert. There's nothing more to worry about." Kim Young-hoon remained unconsoled, the fear of separation rising again. "But are you saying I have to be separated from my hometown friends again?" Sao Yun-yun smiled gently, making a promise. "Then, every 2 years from today, let's meet at this house." After comforting the lonely Kim Young-hoon, Sao Yun-yun left the house. He began his solitary journey, leaving behind his friend's sorrow. A burly warrior holding a long spear appeared, blocking the way. He roared, questioning the commotion in front of the 8 fortification pavilion. "Stop! What's all this noise in front of the 8 fortification pavilion?" Sao Yun-yun, with a cold expression, cupped his hands in a salute. He came not to cause trouble, but to challenge. "I have come to request a match at the 8 fortification pavilion." The warrior burst out laughing, disdainful. He warned Sao Yun-yun that the 8 fortification pavilion was not a place anyone could just come to. "This isn't a place just anyone can casually come to." Without further words, the warrior swung his long spear, brutally attacking Sao Yun-yun. A fatal blow aimed directly at him. The long spear shattered, and the warrior was utterly astonished. Sao Yun-hyun, with determined eyes, swore he would become even stronger. "I will become stronger." Sao Yun-hyun's face was shrouded in shadow, his hand gripping the sword hilt. A lingering question, full of hidden meaning. Sao Yun-hyun's fiery red eyes were revealed, and he asked his opponent if he still seemed like a nobody. "Do I still look like a nobody to you? I will definitely become stronger." The ancient architecture of Bajenge stood majestically amidst the mountains, where vows of eternal love were carved deep into stone, and destinies were decided by strength. A young woman in a purple robe appeared, graceful in demeanor, extending a formal invitation. "Please come in. The sect master is waiting for you." The young man in black, Sao Yun-yun, walked steadily behind the girl, his every step echoing down the long, secluded corridor of the pavilion. He looked up, and a vast arena appeared, where the most rigorous challenges awaited those who wished to prove themselves. In the stands, the disciples in yellow robes silently watched, their eyes fixed on the center of the arena, where a battle was about to unfold. The sect master of Bajenge, an old man with a goatee, sneered, assessing the young man. I was curious to hear that a first-rank martial artist had arrived, but it turns out to be just a young brat. Seo Yunyan bowed respectfully, his voice firm. I am Seo Yunyan. Greetings, sect master of Bajen Ge. The sect master replied, acknowledging, Ho ho, your aura is quite extraordinary for someone so young. The young man raised his head, his gaze resolute, responding with a challenge. Your aura is also extraordinary, sect master. Please teach this untalented one a lesson. Without further words, the sect master swung his weapon, the chain staff spinning, forming a dazzling circle of light under the clear blue sky. He declared, Then, allow me to begin first. The sect master charged forward, his movements swift, the chain staff like a giant python stretching out, ready to devour its opponent. The chain staff emitted a blue light, spinning rapidly in the air, each link containing terrifying power. In an instant, Seo Yunyan's cold, sharp blade flashed, his eyes gleaming with steely determination as he faced death. In the decisive moment, Seo Yunyan thrust his sword, blocking the sect master's chain staff, creating a deafening clash and fierce sparks. The disciples in yellow robes in the stands couldn't help but be astonished, one exclaiming, He blocked the sect master's fatal blow with a sword. The sect master stood opposite, his chain staff gently spinning in his hand, assessing, With this reaction speed, you have reached the realm of sword-body integration. At least the peak of a fourth-rank martial grandmaster. Seo Yunyan calmly replied, It seems the sect master is still holding back his power. Thanks to that, I have witnessed something rare. The sect master sneered, his eyes filled with disdain. I didn't expect someone so young to have reached a realm almost equal to mine, this sect master's. You truly are a genius. Seo Yunyan merely curled his lips slightly, his eyes cold. A genius, huh? He continued his internal monologue. Being called a genius is not a compliment for me. This is a realm that people take decades of arduous training to achieve, so I suppose it's surprising that I, someone who looks barely 20, have reached it. Seo Yunyan smiled meaningfully, the sword in his hand trembling slightly. Thank you for praising my meager talent. I am merely one of countless ordinary people in this world. Heaven did not bestow any talent upon me. His gaze became resolute, revealing a secret. But even for someone like me, thanks to regression, I have been able to master martial arts to a level comparable to geniuses. Regression, in a way, is both my ability and my opportunity, Seo Yunyan declared, sword chi erupting around him. And so, I have become a genius. Now I will use my sword chi. The sect master also roared in response. Then I will also go all out. Without hesitation, Seo Yunyan unleashed the first move of the Fen Shan sword art. First form, surpassing the peak, he charged like a gust of wind, sword light tearing through the air. The sect master was not to be outdone. He swung his chain staff in counterattack, his movement swift as he dodged and sought an opening. Seo Yunyan continued his relentless assault, unleashing second form, entering the mountain, his sword moves unpredictable. The battle reached its climax as Seo Yunyan unleashed third form. Ascending the ridge, sword chi swirling and enveloping, overwhelming his opponent. The sect master in the blue robe roared, sword chi surging around his chain staff, pouring all his strength into a counterattack, his eyes flashing with murderous blue light. The sect master's chain staff moved unpredictably, constantly clashing with Seo Yunyan's sword, creating deafening clangs that echoed throughout the arena. Despite pouring all his strength, the sect master still couldn't find an opening, his face filled with extreme astonishment. What the hell is this? This bizarre sword art has no flaws. Seo Yunyan's sword art flowed like water in clouds, leaving the sect master to only defend in vain, his body forced back step by step. From above, Seo Yunyan brought down seventh form. Deep mountain of the Fin Shan Jan Fa. Sword chi surged like a waterfall, shaking the entire space. A piercing shriek rang out, and the sect master clutched his head, fresh blood oozing from his ears, his eyes filled with terror at the overwhelming power. The disciples in yellow robes in the stands couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment. Impossible! Sect master! He's getting faster with each move! Seo Yunyan continued with 11th form. Splitting the cliff, powerful sword chi tearing through the ground, creating a deep chasm. Another disciple realized in shock. Not just speed. His sword art is also gradually reaching terrifying destructive power, isn't it? The battle reached its peak, sword and chain staff constantly clashing, creating dazzling streams of sword chi that shook the entire arena, neither side giving an inch. The sect master gritted his teeth, trying to hold onto his cracked chain staff. Each sword stroke from Seo Yunyan seemed to want to tear his very soul apart. With cold eyes, Seo Yunyan spoke softly, his tone eerily calm. I suppose I should end this. He soared into the air, unleashing his final move. 11th form, 7 lights, 1 peak. The entire sky suddenly lit up, signaling an inevitable conclusion. Seo Yunyun unleashed 7 lights, 1 peak. Brilliant sword chi tearing through space, aimed directly at the sectmaster. The sectmaster in the blue robe's eyes widened, horrified as he watched the destructive sword chi rush towards him, the chain staff in his hand rendered useless. The disciples in yellow robes, standing in the stands, couldn't help but shiver, their faces pale as they witnessed Seo Yunyun's terrifying power. The sword chi swept past, the sectmaster's chain staff shattered, and he collapsed, utterly defeated. The sectmaster in the blue robe gasped, "Damn it, I lost." Seo Yunyun sheathed his sword, bowed to his opponent, his eyes calm as if no earth-shattering battle had just occurred. He said, "Thank you for this opportunity." On the ravaged arena, Seo Yunyun walked leisurely, leaving behind the defeated sectmaster in the blue robe and the astonished gazes of the crowd. The surrounding scenery still retained the solemn grandeur of an ancient sect, but the echoes of the battle still resonated. Seo Yunyun continued his journey, his steps light yet resolute. He thought to himself, how interesting. He looked up at the ancient architecture of Bajenge, recalling that in his previous life, this sect was merely an ordinary righteous sect. Seo Yunyun mused, "In my previous life, Bajenge was just a righteous sect that amounted to nothing. Next time, I should visit an unorthodox sect and see." Seo Yunyun's eyes gleamed with determination. He knew the road ahead was long. He affirmed, "Through these martial arts journeys, in this life, I will definitely reach the peak realm." The majestic natural scenery unfolded, lush green mountains stretching under the brilliant sunlight, like a promise of new challenges. Seo Yunyun reminisced about his past journey, the battles in Xijing. He thought to himself, I visited about 4 mid-sized sects in Xijing. Among them, I lost in battles at Luyanbao Ge and Mingying Pai, but I won against the chief of the Gaibang, Lu Gong Pai, and others. Another memory flashed. Seo Yunyun swiftly unleashed his sword, defeating another opponent in the blink of an eye. The opponent cried out, "Ah!" The battle ended. The sectmaster in the blue robe collapsed miserably. Seo Yunyun stood tall, his eyes cold, while the white-haired old man sat on a chair, his expression inscrutable. The defeated one groaned in pain, his body writhing on the cold stone floor. An undeniable defeat. The white-haired old man burst into hearty laughter, his sharp eyes fixed on Seo Yunyun. "So you are the first-rank young martial artist who has challenged everyone across Xijing." The old man continued to laugh, his voice full of hidden meaning. Seo Yunyun bowed, responding humbly, "I have also learned much." The smile on the old man's lips grew more sinister, and he issued a surprising challenge. "All right, next are the 10 elders. Are you ready?" Seo Yunyun was stunned. He couldn't believe his ears. "What the hell is this? Is this how an unorthodox sect behaves? Didn't the previous battle end with my victory? I've never heard of a battle where you have to fight 10 people consecutively." The white-haired old man smirked, sneering mockingly. "Really? Did you not hear anything just now?" Seo Yunyun gritted his teeth, anger flaring in his eyes. He warned, "This bastard is spouting nonsense. If today's shameless actions spread to other sects, your reputation as one of the sects maintaining peace and justice will become worthless." A group of bald disciples, weapons in hand, appeared and surrounded Seo Yunyun. The white-haired old man sneered, "No need to worry about that. You were injured in the battle here, and that injury led to your death." The white-haired old man burst into laughter, his voice venomous. "Normally, our sect would generously care for someone like you, but in the end, everyone will simply think you died." The old man's laughter echoed, full of glee. The bald disciples had drawn their weapons, ready to finish off Seo Yunyun at his command. The white-haired old man continued to taunt, his voice contemptuous. Seo Yunyun was surrounded. He felt the imminent danger. How can a dead person spread other rumors? Seo Yunyun's eyes flashed with extreme indignation as he realized their cruel nature. So they are truly insane bastards. The white-haired old man sat casually, his cunning gaze sweeping over the young man. Around him, bald disciples clutched their weapons, ready to act. The old man's words were like daggers. "Even if we kill you here, our reputation will not be tarnished." Seo Yunyun's lips curled slightly into a disdainful smile. He retorted, his voice resolute, "Yes, this is precisely why I came." The sword flashed as Seo Yunyun drew it from its sheath, ready to face them. He accepted the challenge, knowing how ridiculous it was, and declared, "Let's fight. I will accept this absurd duel." The clash of swords echoed, and the battle officially erupted. Seo Yunyun faced a barrage of bald disciples charging like a storm, their eyes filled with murderous intent. Dusk fell, painting the entire sky red. The last rays of sunlight faded, giving way to night descending upon the ancient rooftop. Night had fallen, and shimmering lanterns illuminated the corridors, creating a cozy yet solemn atmosphere. In a crowded tavern, the man in green laughed loudly, his face full of surprise upon hearing the news. "What? That young master went to challenge Huizhang men?" The man in gray shook his head, sipping his wine with a regretful expression. The man in green continued, his tone full of disdain. "What a waste of young talent. How could he possibly fight against that heterodox sect?" The white-haired old man, with a cunning smile, took a sip of tea. He scoffed at the naivety of youth. When young, everyone thinks the world revolves around them. What a naive ideal. The white-haired old man continued to mock, suggesting that Seo Yunyan had brought death upon himself due to his arrogance. He asserted that Huizhang men was nothing but a den of thieves, and by now, the young man was likely under 3 feet of earth. A blood-stained boot appeared, each heavy step imbued with a somber hue, signaling the end of a fierce battle. The server, who was warmly greeting customers, suddenly froze, eyes wide with astonishment, words caught in his throat. Seo Yunyan appeared, his entire body covered in blood, his sword still bearing traces of battle. He spoke calmly, his voice cold, a bowl of noodles. The server trembled, stammering an invitation for Seo Yunyan to enter. The entire eatery fell silent, all eyes fixed on the blood-soaked young man, no one daring to utter a word. Seo Yunyan walked amidst the scattered corpses, blood staining the wooden floor. His heavy footsteps echoed in the somber room, like an affirmation of a battle just concluded. Seo Yunyan's face was covered in blood, his eyes sharp and exhausted. He cursed under his breath. "You bastards, I almost died." A deep wound tore through the back of Seo Yunyan's robe, fresh blood still oozing out. He recalled, "It wasn't just 10 against 1, they also poisoned their weapons." Seo Yunyan stood tall amidst a sea of corpses, bald men in purple robes lying scattered. He thought to himself, "Fortunately, I had mastered advanced medical arts when I was a strategist for the Wulin Alliance. Without the antidote and awakening elixirs I had prepared beforehand, I surely would have perished." The narration shifted to a flashback, the old sect master with silver hair screaming maniacally, his face contorted with hatred. "Kill him at all costs!" A horde of bald disciples, their eyes bloodshot, charged like wild beasts, spears and arrows aimed directly at Seo Yunyan. All the sect disciples rushed to attack me in formation, spears and arrows flying. At that moment, amidst the rain of blood, Seo Yunyan transformed into a beast, his sword swinging relentlessly, cutting down foes. It was only about survival. I fought like a monster. Back in the present, the man in gray sipped his tea, his gaze sweeping over Seo Yunyan, who was eating noodles. And even then, the battlefield scene appeared. Seo Yunyan standing before the old sect master who had fallen on his throne. He had survived. I survived. The corpses of sect disciples lay scattered. He thought smugly, and if any survived, their meridians would have been crippled, turning them into cripples. No one will come to seek revenge on me. Seo Yunyan's hand, still stained with blood, picked up noodles from the bowl. He sighed. However, Seo Yunyan's face showed fatigue, but he remained alert. He thought to himself, "I've consumed too many awakening elixirs, so I can't calm down. I definitely won't be able to sleep for the next few days." He gripped the hilt of his sword, his gaze resolute. "I need to challenge another orthodox sect in another duel." Seo Yunyan walked out of the noodle shop, leaving the 2 men watching him. After the bloody battle with Huizhang, the young master continued his journey immediately after finishing his bowl of noodles. Seo Yunyan caused a sensation throughout Xijing, quickly becoming a hot topic of discussion in the Wulin. Rumors spread far and wide, and people began to bestow upon the mad swordsman a nickname befitting him. Seo Yunyan, the infinite duel maniac. He roared, his eyes blazing, his sword qi sharp and cold. He told himself, "I have no talent. The path to the peak realm I yearn for seems infinitely distant." Therefore, he fought relentlessly, pushing past the boundaries of life and death, inching closer to that realm. He shed a lot of blood. If one has no talent, one must go mad to break through limits. He believed that madness was a weapon, the way for the mediocre to catch up to geniuses. He swept across the Yang kingdom and Xijing, dueling continuously every day. Orthodox or demonic sects, he didn't care, as long as they were opponents. 5 years later, an earth-shattering explosion resounded, shaking the entire land. Seo Yunyan hovered in midair, unleashing the 14th move of the Fenshan sword art. Qi Shan, He Shin. He poured his strength into the sword, embodying the philosophy. Qi must be like a mountain, and the heart must be like the sky. The sword light blazed, its power unparalleled. This sword line can only manifest at the peak realm. He gritted his teeth. Maintaining it for even a moment exhausts the mind. Sweat poured down, and he told himself, "But if I don't risk my life to this extent, I'll never catch up." Because his opponents were his own limits. and the powerful individuals always ahead of him. His sword erupted in dazzling light, ready for a decisive strike. He did not retreat, only advanced. The azure swordlight tore through space, carrying the destructive power of the duel maniac. This was the final blow, deciding everything. An earth-shattering explosion, dust flying everywhere, engulfing everything in the fury of the sword chi. Seo Yunyun's figure collapsed amidst the rubble. His sword chi shattered after just one strike. He gritted his teeth, bitterly exclaiming, "Just one move." My entire sword chi was destroyed. Amidst the hazy dust, a towering figure emerged, a disdainful voice echoing, I heard the rumors and thought you were more formidable. Seo, the infinite duel maniac, you are still too green." Kim Young-hoon, the strongest under heaven, became clearly visible. He smiled triumphantly, his eyes full of self-satisfaction. "It seems I've won." Seo Yunyun struggled to get up, his eyes filled with helplessness at his opponent's absurd talent. He whispered, "That absurd talent. Yes, congratulations." Kim Young-hoon looked at Seo Yunyun, remarking, "You're even stronger than last year." He thought to himself that in just 5 years, his opponent had undergone a complete transformation. Seo Yunyun gripped the hilt of his sword tightly, the deep scars on his hands a testament to his futile efforts. He wondered, what exactly have I been doing for the past 5 years? My cultivation is still stuck at the first-class level. Seo Yunyun's eyes were filled with bitterness as he thought about talent. He realized that the cruelty of fate was truly difficult to accept. The scene shifted to an ancient pavilion. Kim Young-hoon asked, "Anyway, why are you here? Didn't we agree to meet once every 2 years?" Kim Young-hoon recounted his journey. "While searching for the 5 Dao core, I traveled through all the major sects in the Yun Kingdom, and I realized something." Seo Yunyun asked, "What is it?" Kim Young-hoon raised a finger, declaring arrogantly, "That I am the strongest in this land. To this day, no one has been worthy of me making a single move." Seo Yunyun crossed his arms, listening. Kim Young-hoon continued, preparing to make an important offer. Therefore, with the title of Foremost Under Heaven, the strongest under heaven, Kim Young-hoon extended a powerful invitation. "I'm planning to establish an organization. I'll reserve a position for you. Are you interested?" But Seo Yunyun flatly refused. "No, thank you. I'm comfortable with my current position." In Seo Yunyun's mind, memories of his past life flooded back. He didn't want to repeat the fate of being a strategist or a captain. Instead, he had to dedicate himself to cultivation to reach the peak realm, compensating for his lack of talent. Kim Young-hoon relentlessly tempted him, promising to personally train and spar with Seo Yunyun. But the black-haired young man held his ground, refusing to be swayed by the sweet words. No matter how tempting the offer, Seo Yunyun resolutely refused. He was already fed up with Kim Young-hoon's personal training sessions from his past life and didn't want to repeat old mistakes. Seo Yunyun's hand gripped the hilt of his sword tightly, his eyes flashing with determination. He knew exactly what he needed. Not fame or power, but real, bloody, and brutal combat experience. He recalled Kim Young-hoon's words from his past life. The only path to reach the peak was to survive countless life or death battles. That advice was now etched even deeper into Seo Yunyun's mind. The black-haired young man stood there, gazing into the distance. He decided that in this life, he would no longer follow Kim Young-hoon's path, but would forge his own destiny, quietly observing from behind. His steps were firm and resolute as he departed. The relentless dueling journey of the infinite duel maniac had officially begun. A solitary adventure in the world. Time flowed like sand through his fingers. 20 long years passed in the blink of an eye. After 2 decades of wandering, Seo Yunyun returned to his old home. The old house was stained with the colors of time, and so was he, looking much more weathered and mature. A familiar figure appeared at the threshold. Kim Young-hoon, still as youthful as ever, looked at Seo Yunyun with a scrutinizing gaze. "You look too pale." Seo Yunyun's face was deeply etched with the scars of time and battle. Finally, he understood the bitter truth about himself. A cruel truth echoed in his mind. Seo Yunyun's innate talent had been forsaken by the heavens, a curse of fate. Even after relentless training, Seo Yunyun still couldn't break through to the next realm. Kim Young-hoon spoke from behind him. "You still can't break through to the next realm?" Seo Yunyun pondered, his eyes showing helplessness. He admitted, "My sword chi has certainly surpassed others in the alliance, but I can't last more than 3 moves against high-level masters." Kim Young-hoon listened, his face clearly showing confusion. He murmured, how strange." Kim Young-hoon continued to comment, his tone full of contemplation. He said, "You've integrated with your sword much more than before, yet you still haven't reached the peak realm. With your practical combat experience, it should have been more than enough." Seo Yunyun merely gave a bitter, self-mocking smile. "Yes, this is my talent. A talent abandoned by the heavens." Fresh blood seeped from the corner of his mouth, evidence of his exhaustion and deep disappointment. Even having reached his limit, Seo Unyun still didn't give up. He believed, if I can maintain this sword chi all day without any hindrance, perhaps then I'll see a glimpse of the path. Kim Young-hoon looked at him, his eyes filled with encouragement. He said, "Yes, I truly hope you succeed. And here." Kim Young-hoon explained that the book contained what he had learned after battling the cultivators. He had managed to hold on and escape, thereby gaining these insights. Seo Yoon was astonished by the book's thickness, comparable to renowned martial arts manuals. He asked, "You really gained so much insight just from successfully escaping?" Kim Young-hoon turned his back, his gaze sharp. He asserted, "Cultivators are natural disasters in human form. Escaping a natural disaster, naturally, the insights gained will be immense." Seo Yunyun understood, promising to guard the book carefully and pass it down to future generations. Kim Young-hoon thanked him. "Thank you, Yunyun." Kim Young-hoon stood before the door, his gaze resolute. He declared, "Then I will go search for cultivators once more. I hope we meet again alive next time." Kim Young-hoon revealed the secret to reaching the peak realm. To achieve the peak realm, I'll give you a hint. You must always strive to engrave every scene and space you pass through into your mind. Seo Yunyun was surprised, his eyes wide as he asked again, "Every scene around me?" Director Kim explained in more detail that this would help him utilize the terrain in combat, transforming an ability only used in battle into something he could always do. Seo Yunyun, with a grimace, felt this task was overwhelming. How can anyone do that? Just maintaining sword chi continuously already makes my head feel like it's going to explode. In his mind, a purple vortex erupted, an haunting question echoing, "If it continues like this, will my head really explode?" Despair was fleeting. Seo Yunyun turned his back, resolutely rejecting the thought of giving up. "No, there must be a reason why he, the strongest under heaven, gave me such a task." And from that day, amidst the lightning tearing across the sky, he began his journey of engraving every space, every object into his mind. On crowded streets, amidst the bustling crowds, he diligently practiced, memorizing every minute detail. Every step on the ground, every moment was a lesson, a test for his will. In the deep green forest, the whistling wind through the leaves did not distract him from memorizing the space. 5 years passed. Seo Yunyun stood in the forest, panting, sword still in hand. "It's been 5 years since I started maintaining sword chi and spatial awareness." He felt dizzy, his face deeply etched with scars and fatigue. Perceiving all spatial information that enters one's vision is not a normal or easy task. Now, not only his sight, but also his hearing became extremely acute, picking up every slightest sound of the forest. Seo Yunyun's eyes gleamed with weariness but resolve. He wondered if he could fight in this state when there were no more sects left to deal with. Seo Yunyun had spent 3 decades roaming throughout the Yeon Kingdom, battling countless large and small sects. Now, he had set foot in every corner, leaving no sect unvisited. After many years, he lived as a bounty hunter, specializing in tracking down and apprehending notorious bandits. Blood stained the green grass, and mortal corpses lay scattered, evidence of his brutal way of life. Even exhausted and dizzy, he still had to face enemies attacking without mercy. A nagging question: could he survive these brutal battles? A new enemy appeared, a voice echoing, "Brother, it's him!" But Seo Yunyun remained resolute, telling himself, "No matter what, this is the path I've chosen." The cold, sharp sword swept past. A crude voice rang out. "Found you, you bastard!" The enemy had closed in, the atmosphere growing tense. The man with the sword stood tall, his eyes full of killing intent. Behind him, a group of armed men. He growled, "You're dead for sure." Surrounded on all sides, Seo Yunyun maintained his defensive stance. In his mind, a question echoed, "Even if I have to die, isn't this the path I must take?" A desperate scream tore through the air, blood splattering. The battle was swift and brutal. No one had time to react. 15 years passed. Seo Yunyun's face was now deeply etched with scars, and his beard and hair were white. A voice rang out. "You survived?" Kim Young-hoon smiled, old scars etched on his face. He replied, "Yes, this time too." It had been 45 years since he returned to this life. Seo Yunyun thoughtfully poured tea, feeling all his senses had reached their most refined state, far surpassing ordinary sight and hearing. The fragrant tea steam diffused, but in his mind, a harsh truth existed. But that's all there is. Even having reached the pinnacle of his senses, Seo Yunyun was still not satisfied. He still couldn't become a master of the ultimate realm. Seo Yunyun's eyes blazed with longing. He still hadn't reached his ultimate goal, still couldn't touch the realm he yearned for. Kim Young-hoon, looking youthful despite the passage of time, sipped his tea and recounted dangerous encounters. He seemed to have become a target for cultivators. "It seems I'm wanted, perhaps. I've become a bit famous in the cultivation world." 2 cultivators set a trap and waited for me. Seo Yunyan listened to his story, his scarred face showing weariness. Though he narrowly escaped, he still managed to leave his mark on the enemy. Kim Young-hoon remarked that he too must have gained much insight this time. I barely escaped. Even so, I managed to leave a small cut on the cheek of one of them. You must have also gained much insight this time. He sipped his tea, disdainful of what was called insight. Despite countless battles, Seo Yunyan still couldn't defeat a Taoist of the Judgment Realm. Death always lurked. One misstep, and he would become a corpse. Insight, you say. What nonsense. Even so, I still can't defeat a Taoist of the Judgment Realm. If I can't escape, I'll just lie there like a corpse. Kim Young-hoon looked up at the ceiling, his gaze distant. He confessed his long-standing concern, wondering if the ultimate 5-core Tao realm he had achieved was perhaps the very end of martial arts. Honestly, this has haunted me for a long time. That the ultimate 5-core Tao realm I've reached, perhaps that is the very end of martial arts. He wondered if Seo Yunyan had ever had similar thoughts. That no matter how refined martial arts might be, they couldn't defeat cultivators, those who possessed power far beyond mortals. I wonder if you've ever had similar thoughts to mine. That no matter how strong or skilled you are, pure martial arts cannot defeat cultivators. Looking at Kim Young-hoon, Seo Yunyan suddenly saw a reflection of himself. A strange empathy, a shared struggle regarding the limits of power. For some reason, I see a part of myself in Kim Young-hoon. Kim Young-hoon, who possessed heaven-bestowed talent, was facing Seo Yunyan, who was born with talent abandoned by the heavens. 2 opposing fates, yet sharing a common path of seeking. The 2, with talents as opposite as heaven and earth, yet shared the same yearning. Seo Yunyan wondered, why did Kim Young-hoon seem so much like him? Disappointment was evident on Seo Yunyan's face. He had mimicked sword chi, seen through the peak realm, but still couldn't reach it. Kim Young-hoon understood, and also didn't know why. It's frustrating not knowing why I can't reach the peak realm. I see. So even after mimicking the sword chi and perspective of the peak realm, you still can't reach it. And you still don't know why. Kim Young-hoon proposed a spar, as if reminiscing about old times. Seo Yunyan immediately agreed, a spark igniting in his weary eyes. This was what he had longed for. Should we have a match for old time's sake? That's the best thing I've heard in a long time. Night fell, a full moon hanging, suspended in the sky. Under the silver light, 2 figures prepared for a fated confrontation, where martial arts would be tested to their limits. Then an earth-shattering explosion tore through the silent night. Terrifying power clashed, creating swirling currents of energy that shook the entire forest. The battle had begun. Seo Yunyan let out a groan, blood gushing from the corner of his mouth. He was exhausted, but still cried out in despair, wanting to know what the problem was, why he still couldn't break through. Ugh, damn it. What do you think the problem is? Kim Young-hoon stood there, calmly replying that he didn't know either. Seo Yunyan should have become a peak master long ago. Those words horrified Seo Yunyan, who couldn't believe it. I truly don't know. You should have become a peak master long ago. What? What do you mean? Seo Yunyan, his face deeply etched with time and blood, exclaimed in shock. Kim Young-hoon calmly looked at him, his words like a sharp blade cutting into the sword fanatic's last hope. Strange. Truly strange. Why is this happening? He wondered, while Kim Young-hoon continued. Even if you truly have no talent at all, Kim Young-hoon pondered, his blue eyes sweeping over the scars on his face. He offered a new hypothesis, a glimmer of light in Seo Yunyan's desperate darkness. Perhaps what you're missing is a suitable reason. Seo Yunyan, a small figure on the towering cliff, asked again with skepticism. The strongest under heaven explained that it must be a motivation great enough to break all limits. Seo Yunyan. A reason? Kim Young-hoon. Yes, something like despair, or a driving force. Something that can push you beyond the limits of talent through extreme focus. A flash of light, accompanied by a dry sound like a snapping string, signaled a change or a decisive moment approaching. Seo Yunyan roared in indignation, his face contorted with anger and despair. He couldn't accept Kim Young-hoon's words. What kind of damn reason are you talking about? I've wielded a sword for over 50 years. My entire life. Tears streamed down his scarred face, Seo Yunyan's bloodshot eyes reflecting extreme pain. He had risked his entire life just to escape mediocrity. And now you tell me, what kind of reason more do I need to yearn for? And how desperate must I be? I've risked and struggled my whole life just to escape mediocrity. He lay writhing on the ground, his hands still gripping the sword hilt, recounting his extraordinary ceaseless efforts, even in sleep or dreams. I've activated every meridian in my body. Now, even when I sleep, I still hold my sword and release sword chi. Even in dreams, I've reached the level of processing every scene and information I see. In utter despair, Seo Yunyun cried out to heaven and earth, questioning fate, questioning why the next martial arts realm still refused to reveal itself to him. So why? Why? Why is it like this? You say the next realm won't appear before my eyes. Why? Why not? He knelt, knowing full well that an old man nearing 70 resenting the heavens was pathetic, but the pain still tormented his heart. Even I know it's pathetic for an old man nearing 70 to resent the heavens. Why? Just why? But tears streamed down. Seo Yunyun gritted his teeth, his hands clutching the ground. Though he had pursued the way of the sword his entire life, yearning for the next realm, he still couldn't grasp what that realm was. Kim Young-hoon stood there, silently watching the sword fanatic struggling in despair. A heavy silence enveloped the forest. Suddenly, Kim Young-hoon turned his back, his gaze fixed on an ancient tree. His sword chi erupted, creating brilliant lines on the tree bark. On the tree trunk, ancient characters appeared, glowing like fire. Kim Young-hoon had carved a martial arts manual, a final gift for Seo Yunyun. During our spar, I created a martial technique to compensate for your shortcomings. It may not offer much comfort, but I hope learning it will bring you peace. Seo Yunyun sat up, looking at the characters on the tree, recognizing the names of 2 martial arts. He understood that Kim Young-hoon was about to disappear again, as always. Mountain King martial art and moon crossing footwork? And now, you're disappearing again like this. 5 years later, the ancient scenery still retained its tranquility, but time had flowed like an unceasing river. Now, Seo Yunyun had aged considerably, his beard and hair white. He sighed, telling himself, "It's been 50 years since I returned to this life. Not much time left until I die." Looking up at the sky, Seo Yunyun remembered his old friend, his voice full of regret. "Brother Kim Young-hoon, you're dead, aren't you? So this is the fate the heavens chose for both you and me." He continued to contemplate his own limits and those of his old friend. "With my talent, no matter how hard I try, this is the limit. And your talent too, perhaps that was its limit as well." Seo Yunyun turned his back, continuing his monologue about cruel fate, when a gruff voice rang out from behind him, shattering the silence. "No matter how hard ordinary people like us try, we cannot escape the destiny ordained by the heavens." "Seo Yunyun, what the hell are you talking about?" The one who just spoke was a black-haired man, his body covered in blood, coughing violently. He cried out in pain. "Wait! Cough! Cough! Damn it! What did you do before showing up?" Seo Yunyun hurriedly supported the heavily injured man, his face full of worry. "Your condition is very serious. I need to go home and get medical supplies." Seo Yunyun's aged face clearly showed extreme astonishment and worry as he realized something unusual. Without hesitation, Seo Yunyun embraced the injured man, soaring into the air, leaving a long trail of dust behind him. In midair, Seo Yunyun was astonished to see that the black-haired man's arm had been severed. What? Weren't both his arms cut off? From afar, a figure was giving chase. The injured man sneered, saying to Seo Yunyun, "Look, Yunyun! That crazy cultivator is chasing us!" "This is the price I pay for blowing off an arm of a Judgment Realm cultivator." The injured man laughed maniacally. Blood splattered across his face. He roared in extreme exhilaration. "I have inflicted significant damage on a Judgment Realm cultivator." The black-haired man's blood-streaked eyes widened. He screamed wildly. "I have personally witnessed a realm far beyond the 5 great Dao bones, a realm no martial artist can ever reach. I have personally witnessed it." "Ha ha 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 ha!" Seo Yunyun was utterly stunned, his aged face clearly showing horror. "What?" A brilliant blue energy orb exploded, swirling in midair, signaling a terrifying power about to be unleashed. "Look at this." The black-robed madman, with a severed arm, covered in blood, laughed maniacally. He had sacrificed everything, burning his very soul to reach this realm. "I risked my life and burned my soul to reach this point." Seo Yunyun, with white hair, his eyes filled with horror. The sight before him was unbelievable, he exclaimed. "Is that QI force?" 2 figures soared across the deep blue sky. The black-robed man continued to boast about his achievement. "With it, I was able to tear off the arm of a late-stage cultivator." An ancient building exploded into fragments, wood and stone scattering everywhere. The terrifying, destructive power shattering everything. Thick smoke and dust obscured the sky. Beneath them lay ruins. Kim Young-hoon turned to Seo Yunyun, his voice full of self-satisfaction. "Look, Yunyun! This is what I've sought my entire life. A result that surpasses all existing martial arts." Seo Yunyun was stunned, looking painfully at the ruins. His mansion had been completely destroyed. My home, the magnificent mansion, where he had poured all his heart and money, was now just ashes. A lifetime of battles, 50 years of bloodshed, all vanished in an instant. The mansion where I poured all my money. I earned it through 50 years of endless fighting. Kim Young-hoon burst out laughing, his blood-stained face looking even more deranged. He had traveled hundreds of miles just to display this power, to pass on his legacy to Seo Yun-yun. Ha ha! Look at this. He traveled hundreds of miles just to show you this. Because I've decided to entrust my legacy to you. Seo Yun-yun was bewildered. His anger flared up, then subsided. He tried to calm himself, carefully observing the martial arts power Kim Young-hoon had just unleashed. Where a 3-story building once stood, there was now only an empty void, leaving no trace. The destructive power was unbelievable. Fortunately, no servants were there. Otherwise, hundreds of lives could have been lost in an instant. The desolate scene sent shivers down one's spine. Deep sword marks on the ruins proved that the chi force had been condensed with sword force. A terrifying combination, unmatched by anyone. Kim Young-hoon and Seo Yun-yun were free-falling from above. Kim Young-hoon's power was truly unbelievable, a technique that reached the 5 chi realm. Kim Young-hoon continued to boast, his tone full of excitement, recounting the opponents he could now face. With this, I was able to blow off the arm of a core formation cultivator. Even the chi-gathering cultivators, I only dealt with using pressure or technique. With just this, I can finally confront them. Ha! Seo Yun-yun quickly reached out, trying to grab Kim Young-hoon who was falling, an urgent cry echoing in midair. Brother, you're falling! The entire forest trembled. Trees were uprooted, and rocks scattered as if it had just suffered a terrifying destructive blow. Thick smoke and dust enveloped everything, and small debris and rocks continued to fall, signaling the end of a brutal battle. When the smoke cleared, a gigantic deep pit appeared, evidence of the terrifying power just unleashed. In the silent space, Kim Young-hoon's voice whispered, "The 9 moves I told you about. Remember them well." He lay there, blood staining the green grass, his breath weak. Kim Young-hoon tried to pour out his last ounce of dedication. That is the condensed essence of everything I have comprehended. Please, pass on my martial arts. Seo Yun-yun knelt beside him, pain mixed with fear. He squeezed Kim Young-hoon's hand. I hear you clearly. Now please don't speak anymore. Your life is in danger. Suddenly, a stranger appeared on a high branch. His eyes coldly looking down, he spoke. There you are, extreme monster. I didn't expect you to hide in a place like this. The man in the blue robe looked directly at Seo Yun-yun, his tone full of menace. You there, mortal. That man has committed a grave crime against the Heavenly Clan cultivators. Step aside and leave this place. Seo Yun-yun raised his head, his eyes full of vigilance. Are you here to punish him? Don't tell me. You are the master of the extreme monster? Without another word, the man in blue swooped down like lightning, attacking Seo Yun-yun. He was forced to embrace Kim Young-hoon and dodge, trying to protect his brother. The man in blue stood on the branch again, watching Seo Yun-yun flee with Kim Young-hoon. He sneered. Tsk. A futile act. Didn't the extreme monster tell you about our cultivation clan? A strange purple energy enveloped the man in blue. He smirked maliciously. Ha. Well then, enjoy a little. Consider it your final entertainment. Now, run while you still can. Seo Yun-yun turned his head in a panic, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He saw something terrifying approaching. Before him was an army of walking corpses, their eyes glowing red, letting out terrifying roars. Corpses? Grrr! Grrr! They're Jiangshi. Seo Yun-yun held Kim Young-hoon tightly, running desperately through the forest, the roars of the Jiangshi echoing behind him. He snapped, Damn it! What is this mess? As he ran, Seo Yun-yun glanced back. He wondered about Kim Young-hoon's alias. That alias? Was it given by the cultivators? How unique. He kept running, holding his dying brother tightly. Seo Yun-yun exclaimed in surprise. Just think, both the extreme monster and the infinite combat demon, 2 devils, being chased by Jiangshi. Isn't that truly strange? Despite his exhaustion, Seo Yun-yun still carried Kim Young-hoon on his back, running desperately, trying to rouse his brother. No matter what, you must stay conscious. Say something, brother. Behind them, the Jiangshi roared, their pale eyes full of bloodlust, charging like a pack of wild beasts. He ran and swung his sword, striking down an approaching Jiangshi, black blood splattering everywhere. Seo Yun-yun's heavy footsteps imprinted on the ground, each stride a life-or-death struggle. Another Jiangshi was knocked back, falling to the ground, blood splattering amidst its roaring kin. Kim Young-hoon weakly complained, Damn it, you have regenerative power. You should be the one carrying me and running. Seo Yun-yun replied, panting. I'm almost completely exhausted. Why should I carry someone who's had both arms severed? The Jiangshi continued their relentless pursuit. Seo Yun-yun gritted his teeth and kept running without end. Day turned to night, night turned to day. How many times had the sun risen and set? Time passed in despair, but the chase continued. Seo Yun gasped for breath, each heavy breath feeling like it would tear his chest apart, his exhaustion reaching its limit. Finally, he was cornered at a precarious cliff. Looking down into the bottomless abyss, he exclaimed, "Damn it, why is it so high?" From above, the man in the blue robe appeared, observing coldly. Truly astonishing. A mere mortal able to withstand my jiangshi for 3 days and 3 nights, he continued, his tone full of sarcasm. But now, you can't run anymore, and there's no need to run. The man in the blue robe looked at Kim Young-hoon on Seo Yun-yun's back, asking mockingly, "That extreme monster? He's dead. Isn't he mortal?" Seo Yun-yun lowered his head, his voice subdued. I know that." The man in the blue robe sneered. "Even a top physician could tell that's a corpse," the man in the blue robe explained. "So what's the point of running? I only care about the head of that extreme monster. I couldn't care less about a low-level martial artist like you, so you can discard the corpse and flee." Seo Yun-yun raised his head, a strange, defiant smile spreading across his lips. "Ha ha ha." The man in blue was startled by Seo Yun-yun's mad smile. He raised an eyebrow, his voice full of contempt. "Are you laughing?" Seo Yun-yun gripped the hilt of his sword tightly, famous martial arts name swirling in his mind. He told himself, for a talentless person like him to come this far. It was all thanks to Kim Young-hoon. The director was not only a fellow countryman, but also the martial arts master who enlightened him. He bowed his head, carrying Kim Young-hoon's motionless body. Seo Yun-yun's eyes suddenly blazed with anger. He drew his sword, its gleaming tip pointed directly at his enemy. "Therefore, if you want my master's head, you'll have to take my head first." The man in the blue robe maintained his cold expression, as if Seo Yun-yun's challenge didn't faze him in the slightest. A terrifying silence enveloped them. He looked down, his gaze sweeping over the jiangshi and Seo Yun-yun. "Tsk, that bastard and those others. Are you acting so recklessly because you don't know the terrifying power of the Cultivation Heavenly Clan? Or is it because your time is up and you've given up hope?" He raised his hand, black cheese swirling around it, and the jiangshi growled. "If so, let me show you. The Cultivation Heavenly Clan possesses the power to inflict pain more terrifying than death itself." From the darkness, 2 bony jiangshi hands reached out, ready to snatch their prey. They lunged forward, carrying the stench of death and bloodlust. Seo Yun-yun flinched, whipping his head around. A sense of unease surged. Something was wrong. His eyes widened, realizing the horror. They weren't aiming for him. Behind him, Kim Young-hoon's body on his back suddenly convulsed violently, his arms reaching up into the air as if controlled. Seo Yun-yun turned back, witnessing the horrifying sight. Kim Young-hoon, who was dead, was being controlled. He exclaimed, "That's..." The man in the blue robe looked at Seo Yun-yun with contempt. "A useless criminal bastard. Let me punish him for daring to disrespect a cultivator." Seo Yun-yun gritted his teeth, his eyes burning with hatred. He growled, You wicked, damned cultivator." Suddenly, Kim Young-hoon stood upright, his pale eyes lifeless. He held a sword, and a cold voice rang out. "Now then, extreme monster, kill the one you call your disciple with your own hands." Kim Young-hoon, once the strongest, is now just a controlled corpse. He screams, his eyes stark white and fangs sharp like a true monster. Seo Yun-yun painfully confronts his old friend, now an enemy. Every sword strike from Kim Young-hoon carries deadly, inhuman power. The man in blue floats in the air, with a horde of zombies below, calmly witnessing the tragedy. Seo Yun-yun looks up, roaring furiously, to dare defile the soul of the deceased. "You've got some nerve." The man in blue subtly smirks, his gaze cold and smug, as if everything is within his grasp. The old swordsman dodges the corpse's furious attacks. In his mind, he reassures himself. Luckily, he can't use his martial arts from when he was alive. Each of Kim Young-hoon's sword strikes still carries terrifying power, enhanced by the cultivator's energy. Seo Yun-yun retreats, feeling the heavy pressure. Though it's only raw power, the corpse's speed and destructive force are too horrifying. Seo Yun-yun grinds his teeth, realizing his aging body has reached its limit. Helplessness and rage surge. The old swordsman growls in his throat. Damn it! Damn it! He grips the hilt of his sword tightly, purple light surrounding it. Though he knows striking Kim Young-hoon's corpse is a great blasphemy, he has no other choice. A tear rolls down his scarred cheek. The old swordsman softly utters an apology, then resolves. "I'm sorry. It's come to this. Let's end it quickly." With resolute eyes, Seo Yun-yun focuses all his strength. He unleashes his ultimate technique, Duan Shan sword art. 21st move, Hu Tian. Hu Tian, the 21st move of the Duan Shan sword art. A strange name, evoking a peaceful scene, completely opposite to the nature of a sword technique. In a distant memory, a young Kim Young-hoon once wondered, "Other techniques are named after mountain peaks and slopes. Why is this one different?" A young Seo Yun-yun muses, wondering if Kim Young-hoon knows the reason. For this is the technique he refined from his previous life. A young Kim Young-hoon lies on the grass, looking up at the sky and exclaiming, "Hu Tian! Ha!" He suddenly remembers Hu Tian on Baekdu Mountain, making Seo Yun-yun, sitting beside him, wonder, "Baekdu Mountain?" Kim Young-hoon laughs heartily, speculating about the technique's origin. "Haha, yes. Perhaps this world also has a Hu Tian? Or maybe another Korean like us named this technique." The clear blue sky, with fluffy white clouds, seemed like an answer. Both burst out laughing. Exactly. Hu Tian! A majestic scene unfolds, the clear blue lake surface reflecting the entire sky, like a giant mirror amidst the mountains. An old man's voice echoes, explaining the profound meaning of Hu Tian. Hu Tian contains all things, yet remains unchanged. In the incantation, Tian symbolizes the one I cross swords with. The old man continues, "And Hu is the symbol of my unique sword." In the memory, a young Kim Young-hoon faces Seo Yun-yun, his face tense, as if enduring an invisible attack. Kim Young-hoon screams in pain, his entire body enveloped by a deep blue energy. He struggles as if being drained of strength, a testament to the technique's terrifying power. The old man continues to explain the Hu Tian technique, a part of the Fengshan sword art. It absorbs all of the opponent's power through their meridians, then rebounds and seals the energy into the wielder's sword. The old man emphasizes, "This is a unique technique. Only I, a top physician and master of the Badachi Jing, can perform it. This martial art was created specifically for me. No one else can learn it." Returning to the present, Seo Yun-yun faces the controlled corpse of Kim Young-hoon. The old man's words echo in his mind. If the corpse remains intact, the cultivator can use it as a zombie. He knows he cannot leave any openings. Seo Yun-yun grips the hilt of his sword, a brilliant blue energy bursting from the scabbard. He decides to unleash all the techniques of the Fengshan sword art at once. If I unleash every technique of the Fengshan sword art at once, he unleashes the first move. Yi Ji, Yue Ding Feng. The emerald sword light tears through the night, rushing towards the opponent with terrifying speed. Seo Yun-yun's blade flashes past, carrying destructive power. He doesn't hesitate, pouring his entire will into each strike, determined to end this battle. Without pause, he continuously unleashes Erji, Rushan, Sanji, Shengmai, Cg, Lu Ling, Wuji, Yanbi, Luji, Qi Ya. Countless sword images envelop the area, forming a storm of sword qi. Memories flood back. Kim Young-hoon screams in pain as countless sword images tear through his body. Gasp! Gasp! The heart-wrenching scream echoes, signaling a tragic end. The white-haired old man with fiery eyes growls his command. Destroy it into fragments. Leave nothing for the cultivator to resurrect by corrupting the soul. His words held extreme hatred. A young Kim Young-hoon, eyes filled with rage, points his finger at his opponent. "Filthy worm!" he roars, dark energy swirling around his hand. Kim Young-hoon distorts, muscles bulging, skin cracking, transforming into a hideous monster. Screech! A terrifying shriek, dark power erupting. The white-haired old man grinds his teeth, realizing the danger. Damn it, the cultivator has imbued him with even more terrifying strength and speed. I must dodge! He realizes the situation has reversed. The current Seo Yun-yun looks down, his gaze resolute. "No, what's the use of dodging? My life is already nearing its end. And right now, I'm already one who has died and come back to life," he tells himself. Seo Yun-yun's foot stomps hard on the ground, dust flying, so that my master's final moments are no longer defiled. He is determined not to retreat. From above, Seo Yun-yun plunges down like an arrow. "I will burn everything to ashes," he roars. White light surrounding his body. Sword ready. The monster Kim Young-hoon roars fiercely, bulging muscles displaying ultimate power. Roar! The roar echoes, full of frenzy. Seo Yun-yun feels death approaching, but his will won't let him fall. "I will die. No, I cannot die yet. Come on, just a little more," he urges himself on. Seo Yun-yun's hand is bleeding, but his senses become sharper than ever. The surrounding space, sounds, scents, humidity, temperature, and even the strong metallic taste of blood lingering on my tongue. He perceives everything. Seo Yun-yun's brain feels like it's about to explode, veins bulging on his forehead. My head feels like it's going to shatter. Then let it shatter. He accepts all limits. Seo Yun-yun's eyes blaze like fire, teeth clenched. "More! Give me more!" he growls, channeling all his strength into his sword. Seo Yunyun screams until his throat is hoarse, his entire body ablaze with will. Hey! Until my brain burns out! Amidst the frenzy, as Seo Yunhyun's will burned to its absolute peak, a glowing red crack appeared, signaling something shattering within him. His exploding brain not only accepted the pressure of death, but also awakened something. In a mist of illusions, Seo Yunyun floats, sword in hand, wondering if this is a hallucination. His eyes widen, realizing something horrifying. This is. Then, he finds himself facing a colossal hand, red laser-like threads entangled, an invisible yet present threat. He is flung away by that hand, feeling his body crushed, but his gaze remains unwavering. Seo Yunyun stands firm, the sword in his hand glowing blue. The white-haired, silver-bearded old man, with resolute eyes, is ready for the decisive blow. His blade vibrates, a dazzling blue light like a lightning bolt tearing through the night, ready to pierce through everything. A sharp sword strike, blood splattering. He pierced the colossal hand, making it roar in pain. His eyes widen, wondering if this is the highest realm of swordsmanship. Could this be the vision of the peak realm? The strongest under heaven, Kim Young-hoon, though controlled, reveals a sinister smile. Kim Young-hoon is smiling? He was a genius blessed by heaven, and at the same time, one abandoned by it. Though opposites, they were alike, for both struggled to survive the fate that heaven had decreed. Against a blazing red backdrop, Kim Young-hoon's form is torn apart, fragments scattering in a devastating attack, as if time and space themselves were distorted. No genius, no fool. Now only one remains who fell while struggling against cruel fate. He, Kim Young-hoon, died in the ceaseless battle. Seo Yunyun, with blood at the corner of his mouth, hands forming a seal, sword glowing, knows he too will soon face the same end. Both were playthings of fate. In memory, a young Kim Young-hoon appears with a sinister smile, challenging, "Do you intend to end everything here?" The words were like a curse, haunting Seo Yunyun's mind. A thump rings out. Seo Yunyun decisively responds to Kim Young-hoon's past challenge. Of course not. He cannot stop when everything is not yet over. Sword-light blazes. Seo Yunyun unleashes his final technique, power erupting as if to tear the sky apart. Shiwuji! The ground cracks open. Debris flies everywhere. A terrifying crack echoes. Hutian! The technique, named after the towering mountain range, possesses power as if to crush all things. Earth and stone shatter. Dust billows up. Yes, this is the end. A bitter remark, yet also a release. In memory, Kim Young-hoon screams in pain, his face contorted by the terrifying power of the Hutian technique, an ultimate cruel punishment. Seo Yunyun floats in midair, his gaze resolute as he looks down. Now, no matter how strong the cultivator is, he can no longer defile my friend's corpse. A relieved smile forms on Seo Yunyun's lips, his gaze directed towards the void. Rest in peace, my master. He had fulfilled his promise. So I, after reaching the new realm I always yearned for, have ended this ceaseless life of trials. The narration echoes, marking a long journey. That was my fourth return. A shocking statement, revealing the terrifying secret of the battle fanatic's cycle of life and death. Opening his eyes, a gasp escaped. He lay on the lush green grass, a familiar feeling washing over him. I've regressed again. In my previous life, memories of his past life flooded back, a life of endless combat, right up to his last breath. He remembered the final moment, when all limits were broken, when he reached the pinnacle, and finally, I ascended. A liberating roar echoed. He had reached the realm he had yearned for his entire life. Finally, I've reached the peak realm. It was the realm of the strongest, the ultimate goal he had pursued with his entire life. The realm I've yearned for my entire life. While he was still immersed in his emotions, an angry voice rang out. John Myung-hoon rushed over, accusing him of being crazy. "Hey, Assistant Seo, what the hell are you talking about? You lunatic? Because of you." But he paid no mind, his eyes now unusually sharp, seeing through everything. "I can see." John Myung-hoon furiously swung his arm, but he deftly dodged. His opponent was astonished by the unbelievable evasion. "You dodged?" He closed his eyes, but in his mind, the trajectory of John Myung-hoon's attack was crystal clear. I can see exactly where John Myung-hoon's next blow will land, even with my eyes closed. The attacker still didn't give up, continuously swinging blows. He recalled that he used to be able to dodge them, but that was thanks to experience. Before, I could still dodge his attacks with my eyes closed. Ugh! He stood upright, hands clasped behind his back, thinking to himself, that was thanks to decades of experience, allowing him to predict attacks. But that was thanks to decades of experience. It allowed me to predict his movements. But now it was different. This wasn't prediction, but the ability to prophesy. to see the future of an attack. This is different. This isn't prediction, but prophecy. An image flashed in his mind. A lone warrior, standing amidst the corpses of enemies. He understood. This was why the peak realm was invincible. So, no matter how many first-rate masters gather, they cannot defeat a peak master. When you can clearly see the direction and trajectory of a weaker opponent's attack, how can a first-rate martial artist hope to defeat someone in the peak realm? His eyes glowed, tinged with a deep blue. This time, he wouldn't just dodge, but also see the optimal path for a counterattack. So, this time, my instincts tell me that blue line marks the opponent's opening. It's the optimal path for my attack. His eyes blazed, seeing through every opening. The red line was the enemy's attack trajectory, and that deep blue line was his perfect counterattack path. In that special vision, Jian Myung-hoon appeared with countless openings. The immense power gap exposed all weaknesses, as if inviting him to strike. Suddenly, a drop of fresh red blood flowed from Seo Yun-hyun's nose, signaling the price to pay for his new power. He was stunned, not yet understanding what was happening. A fierce headache struck, as if burning his brain. He groaned, wondering if using this special vision was beyond his endurance. Jian Myung-hoon charged wildly, unleashing a blow. He roared, "You bastard! You almost killed all of us, and you still dare to dodge?" But Jian Myung-hoon's attack missed. Immediately, a lightning-fast counterattack made him widen his eyes, falling to the ground. Jian Myung-hoon lay motionless, while Seo Yun-hyun still clutched his head in pain. Colleagues around cried out in horror. "Section Chief Jun!" He was still dazed, clutching his head, the blurry outlines of his vision still haunting his mind. A female colleague approached, asking worriedly, "Assistant Seo Yun-hyun, are you all right?" He sighed in relief, wiping the blood from his nose. Just using that vision for an instant caused such terrible pain. What's happening? After calming his panicked teammates, he led them to find shelter. He guided everyone into a cave, started a fire, roasted some wild berries, and helped them fall asleep. The flickering fire illuminated the tired faces of his sleeping teammates, bringing a little warmth to the wilderness. Outside, night fell. Dark clouds swirled, enveloping the forest in an eerie silence. A dry branch drifted on the water, reflecting the uncertainty of fate. Seo Yun-hyun swung his wooden staff with decisive movements, as if training in the silent night of the forest, where dark clouds swirled and an eerie silence reigned. A green leaf was neatly split in two, proof of the precision in each of his staff's movements, without a single deviation. He gazed thoughtfully at the falling leaf, recalling his latent power. With a blunt staff, not even imbued with inner energy, I neatly split a leaf in two. The peak realm vision, a special ability, was clear in his mind, dividing the combat path into blue and red lines. Thanks to it, he could read every movement of his opponent, finding the perfect path to deliver a fatal blow to their weakness. He recalled his past life, when Kim Young-hoon had called his ability to continuously amplify his senses' peak realm simulation. By maximizing all 5 senses, he could forcibly calculate the opponent's combat path. Amazing! From the dry branch, countless bright blue lines erupted. That was the peak realm vision. Under the dim moonlight, leaves still fluttered. The forest plunged into mystery, signaling ill omens. Seo Yun-hyun stood there, staff in hand, his gaze resolute amidst the silent space, ready for any challenge. His eyes were tightly closed, highly focused, as if preparing for an upcoming battle, sensing every change around him. Suddenly, a group of assassins in green appeared, fiercely attacking him from all sides, shattering the peace. But Seo Yun-hyun was lightning fast, flipping in the air, his wooden staff swinging down to defeat an enemy with a single blow. The remaining ones were terrified. They fell in pain, not understanding what had happened before being killed. Dawn broke, dispelling the night. Seo Yun-hyun let out a sigh, ending the swift and dramatic battle. Seo Yun-hyun, drenched in sweat, opened his eyes and smiled contentedly, as if he had just overcome some personal limit. He soared through the air, wooden staff in hand, like an immortal testing his newly acquired power. A fierce headache struck. He clutched his forehead, feeling as if his brain was about to explode from overload. But, thanks to 8 bamboo root huang and the dragon vein qi cultivation method, his special vision could now be maintained for nearly an hour and a half. Having reached the peak realm, Seo Yun-hyun no longer needed to sell bamboo root huang. He was confident he could earn money himself. A dark cave, hidden among rocks and dense trees, appeared before his eyes. He looked down at the unconscious man in the orange shirt, his face showing deep contemplation. In Seo Yun-hyun's mind were Kim Young-hoon's 6 cherished books from his previous life, along with the final secret he left before his death. He thought, if these were passed on, this life's Kim Young-hoon would surely surpass his past self. A green leaf pouch, likely containing precious bamboo root huang, was carefully hidden by him. Sao Yunyun walked past the fallen enemies, telling himself that the only path for a dullard like him was ceaseless training. With steady steps, he resolved to use his peak vision until his brain fully adapted. His first goal was to overcome the burning pain this vision brought, and finally, to reach the legendary three flowers converging at the peak realm. He turned and walked away, his gaze resolute towards the cave, where the path led to the highest pinnacle of the peak realm. Dawn broke, the dazzling sun dispelling the night, illuminating the verdant mountains and forests, ushering in a promising new day. Just like in his previous life, the giant fox, claiming to be the master of the forest, appeared before Sao Yunyun again. He reached out his hand towards it, a sudden curiosity arising in his mind. Sao Yunyun's eyes were sharp. He wondered if he could see the red thread hidden within this fox, just as he had seen before. The giant fox growled, its eyes blazing red like blood, and its entire body erupted with a terrifying crimson aura, engulfing the entire space. Sao Yunyun was stunned. The entire world before him was dyed a brilliant red, as if submerged in a sea of blood. He exclaimed, "Red! The whole world is red!" In that moment, he felt utter helplessness, a desperate whisper echoing in his mind. "I can't win." He looked around in shock. Blood splattered on his shirt, unable to believe his eyes. What the hell is this? How can space be filled with this crimson light? A few days later, when the cultivators returned, Sao Yunyun once again could only display a bewildered expression, astonished by the sight before him. The three cultivators floated in midair, their entire bodies emitting a dazzling crimson light, making Sao Yunyun exclaim, "Red!" He realized the terrifying difference between cultivators and martial artists. He told himself, "I can't win. There are no openings." At this realm, even a peak master would struggle to defeat the lowest level cultivator, one who had only just reached the first star chi refinement realm. The next day, after the cultivators had taken their companions away, Sao Yunyun seized the opportunity to ask Sea Dragon King Sao Yul, who had come to pick up assistant Ohai Sao. Sao Yunyun clasped his hands and bowed respectfully before the Sea Dragon King, saying, "Sea Dragon King, this mortal dares to ask a question." Sea Dragon King Sao Yul raised an eyebrow slightly, smiling meaningfully, and replied, What is it?" After Sao Yunyun recounted what he had witnessed, he asked the Sea Dragon King about the cultivator's crimson domain. Sao Yul offered a mysterious smile and began to explain the cultivator realm Sao Yunyun had just mentioned. He revealed that cultivators possess something called divine sense, a special form of consciousness. The Sea Dragon King continued to explain that for ordinary people, consciousness is confined to the brain, but cultivators can release it outwards, enveloping the surrounding space, forming an invisible energy field. He concluded that even spiritual beings like himself possess a similar divine sense. Sao Yunyun nodded slightly, grateful for the explanation that had clarified many things. But Kim Young-hoon, standing behind him, was bewildered. Perhaps due to Seul's profound words, he still couldn't fully grasp the concept of divine sense. Not long after Seul disappeared, a familiar figure reappeared. The hunchback, the grotesque puppet rider, was present again, boldly declaring he would take Kim Young-hoon away. Without further ado, the hunchback immediately acted. He pushed both Kim Young-hoon and Sao Yunyun into a spatial rift, opening a gateway to an unknown destination. Both men were sucked into the rift, then suddenly fell freely into a deep blue body of water, sinking deep into the icy cold. Sao Yunyun opened his eyes underwater in shock. He couldn't believe what had just happened, an extreme sense of bewilderment washing over him. After a moment of chaos, the dazzling light of the clear blue sky, sparkling with white clouds, gradually appeared. He irritably wrung out his soaking wet shirt on the sandy shore. "Damn it. Last time it was in a tree. Now it's underwater?" he muttered. Sao Yunyun stood up straight, looking at Kim Young-hoon still struggling on the sand. He sighed, finding everything ridiculous and perplexing. Kim Young-hoon finally woke up, looking around in a panic. "Haha, where is this? Everything is completely different," he exclaimed, his voice full of confusion. Sao Yunyun calmly rebuttoned his shirt, his gaze sweeping over the surrounding terrain. Judging by the landscape, this must be Gyedu Lake of the Yan Kingdom. Changho Castle should be nearby. Kim Young-hoon groaned. Ugh. So what do we do now? He looked around, hoping to find someone to ask for directions. If there's anyone nearby, at least we could ask where this is. Sao Yunyun suddenly pointed across the lake. "Ah, there's a building on the other side of the lake," Kim Young-hoon asked in surprise. "Oh, really?" Sao Yunyun plunged into the clear blue water, telling himself he would swim to that building to find clothes and food. Kim Young-hoon stood on the shore, calling out in a panic, "Assistant Say!" Water splashed around Sao Yunyun as he swiftly stroked, a thought suddenly crossing his mind. "Damn it, why am I wearing clothes?" His vision expanded, and the building across the lake came into clear view, an ancient wooden architectural complex. Seo Yun realized. If my memory serves me right, that's definitely the bandit's lair. A bearded bandit, wearing a leopard print jacket and wielding a large saber, appeared in Seo Yun's mind. He clearly remembered that both their leader and vice leader were masters. The image of a blood and poison-stained sword flashed, recalling their cruelty. Seo Yun knew well, but they are numerous. On the shore, a bandit in a leopard print jacket, with a surprised expression, stared towards the lake. He wondered, "Huh? What's that?" Seo Yun was still swimming towards the shore. From the direction of the lair, the bandits had spotted him. One in a leopard print jacket sneered, "Haha, who's this lunatic?" Seo Yun stepped onto the shore, water splashing around his feet. He stood tall, clothes soaking wet, his gaze fixed on the bandits. A bandit in a leopard print jacket holding a wooden staff charged straight at Seo Yun, yelling, "How dare you, you bastard!" He swung his staff while shouting, "I told you to get lost!" In just an instant, the bandit in the leopard print jacket was sent flying by Seo Yun, his body hurtling through the air, creating a white streak. The other bandits standing on the shore were utterly astonished. Their mouths hung open, eyes wide, unable to believe what had just happened. Seo Yun picked up the wooden staff the bandit had dropped, gently testing its weight in his hand. He calmly remarked, "Not bad." Seo Yun walked calmly on the sand, advancing towards the remaining bandits, staff in hand. He spoke, asking another bandit, "You there? How many people have you killed here?" The red bandana bandit, a burly figure wielding an iron mace, roared angrily, "You bastard!" He raised his weapon, shouting, "I've personally sent over 50 to hell myself!" In a flash, Seo Yun swung his staff. Blood splattered, and the red bandana bandit fell. He still stood there, his expression cold, devoid of emotion. The death of the red bandana bandit terrified his comrades, and angry growls erupted as they realized the intruder was no ordinary foe. Seo Yun, with a chillingly calm and unwavering expression, prepared for a merciless sweep. He stood tall amidst the encirclement, his blood-stained staff lightly swung, a declaration of war echoing. "From now on, anyone who has ever taken a life, even once, come at me." Meanwhile, in a massive building hidden amidst the mountains and forests, other bandits were still reveling in an unrestrained feast. Laughter, clinking dishes, and crude remarks filled the air. They were completely unaware of the impending disaster. A bound girl, blood on her mouth, trembled as she watched the one pouring wine, while another girl roared angrily, "You bastard, come here!" A bearded bandit, leisurely pouring tea, suddenly flinched, looking up to ask his comrades, "Huh? Who's that guy?" The door suddenly burst open, and Seo Yun appeared like a demon from hell, holding a blood-soaked staff and a freshly severed human head. The bandit leader, seated on a tiger-skin chair, sneered contemptuously, Well, this bastard. Get your weapons. A rat has crawled in." Immediately, the lively atmosphere turned into chaos. The remaining bandits hastily drew their swords and sabers, charging to attack the stranger. Seo Yun, with eyes as sharp as ice, declared their fate. "No need to ask. All of you will die." Before long, outside the building, the corpses of the bandits lay scattered on the ground, blood staining the area red. The bandit leader, now gasping for breath, clutching his fatal wound, pleaded in despair, "Cough! Cough! A master! Please spare my life!" Seo Yun stepped into the pool of blood, his gaze unwavering, and asked one question. Seo Yun stood tall amidst the scattered corpses, the blood-stained staff in his hand like a grim reaper's scythe. He was the embodiment of brutality, a phantom in a sea of blood. He coldly asked, "How long have I been here?" A gasping bandit tremblingly replied, "About a quarter of an hour." Seo Yun's eyes were sharp and cold, the bloodstains on his face intensifying his cruel demeanor. He recalled his previous life, when it had taken him an entire day to wipe out these bandits. He reminisced about the horrifying scene from before, where the building was engulfed in fierce flames, and he had to use a poisoned sword to cut down each one. But now, in just a quarter of an hour, he had wiped them all out, using only a simple wooden staff, fresh blood still oozing from his clenched hand. The last bandit trembled and pleaded, intending to reveal where the money was hidden. But Seo Yun gave him no chance, coldly declaring, "Indeed. And now, die." A fatal strike, blood splattering, ended the miserable bandit's life, leaving only an eerie silence. Seo Yun stood amidst the pool of blood, his gaze resolute. He knew everything, because he had been here before, had experienced this hell once already. He unlocked the captives, freeing them from the bandits' shackles. Cheers erupted. "Thank you, great hero!" The survivors knelt on the ground, tears welling in their eyes, thanking their benefactor for avenging them against these cursed brigands. Seo Yun turned and walked away, without a word, his gaze distant. He didn't care for thanks or accolades. A middle-aged man tremblingly asked his name, promising to repay the kindness if he revealed his identity. Seo Yunyun stopped, ran a hand through his hair, pondering his name and alias. The old man patiently waited, once again imploring him to reveal his identity. He turned back, a confident smirk on his face, and declared his alias. Infinite Combat Spirit, that is my name. The vast, endless blue sky stretched out, with white clouds drifting leisurely, like a peaceful painting before a storm. He and Kim Young-hoon sailed downriver to Cheonghu City. They used the money stolen from the mountain bandits to buy a manor and forge household registration document. Just like in his previous life, he diligently taught Kim Young-hoon both literary and martial arts. Sharp sword energy sword, each move containing astonishing power. Time passed, and 2 months quickly went by. Kim Young-hoon sat in meditation, his aura surging around him, 3 ethereal blue lotus flowers hovering, signaling an earth-shattering breakthrough. Watching Kim Young-hoon's rapid progress, Seo Yunyun sighed softly. He thought to himself, he's progressing faster than I imagined. It's truly disheartening. But then he told himself that things had always been this way. Some spend their entire lives lingering at the peak realm, but there are also those who, guided by a master in supreme martial arts, can surpass the peak and directly enter Sanhua Guanding. Seo Yunyun stepped forward, looked at Kim Young-hoon, and offered his congratulations. Congratulations! Even without mastering literacy, you've already broken through to Sanhua Guanding. Kim Young-hoon opened his eyes, a smug smile on his face. Even I'm surprised. I didn't expect to have such martial arts talent. Seo Yunyun pondered. He recalled that ever since Kim Young-hoon reached Sanhua Guanding, he had never had a proper fight with him. He had always been the one training him. But what about now? He who had reached the peak realm, and Kim Young-hoon who had just entered Sanhua Guanding. An idea flashed in his mind. Seo Yunyun stood up, his sharp gaze fixed on Kim Young-hoon. So, shall we have a match? Kim Young-hoon sneered. Ha, a match it is. This time, I even feel like you might win. Outside, the overlapping mountain ranges appeared faintly in the mist, as if awaiting a fated confrontation. Sword energy erupted. Seo Yunyun unleashed Duanshanjianfa, second stance. Rushan, sword light tearing through the wind, heading straight for his opponent. Kim Young-hoon dodged, but Seo Yunyun's Duanmai sword energy still collided with his Longmu, creating a powerful shockwave. Red and blue sword energies clashed fiercely, tearing apart the deep forest space. The confrontation between the two swordsmen reached its climax. Seo Yunyun's sword energy was overwhelming, pushing Kim Young-hoon into a difficult position. He retreated, trying to escape the encirclement. Damn it, my blue sword path is being pushed back. I need to dodge. But an idea flashed. If he kept retreating, he would lose his chance. No, if I dodge, I'll just keep getting pushed back. Kim Young-hoon's eyes blazed. A fierce competitive fire suddenly ignited, urging him not to retreat. I don't know why, but the competitive will not to lose is burning within me. Why? He realized this was his last chance to surpass Seo Yunyun. With a roar in his heart, Kim Young-hoon leaped into the air, sword light dazzling. That's right. In this life, my chance to defeat him is right now. This might be my last chance. Seo Yunyun secretly thought about Kim Young-hoon's terrifying rate of progress. He knew that if he missed this moment, he would never have another chance to face him as equals. Kim Young-hoon will continue to grow at a frightening pace. The next time we fight, he'll be so far beyond me that I won't even be able to look him in the eye. The two figures charged at each other like a storm, their clashing sword energies creating dazzling streaks of light that shook the entire forest. Kim Young-hoon gritted his teeth, attacking with all his might. He understood clearly that this was the decisive moment, the only chance to break through the limits of Sanhua Guanding and defeat his opponent. This anomaly, standing right at the peak of Sanhua Guanding, is my last chance to defeat him in this life. His hand gripped the sword hilt tightly, his determination to win evident in every muscle fiber. Yes, I will win. With iron will, Kim Young-hoon charged forward, green sword energy erupting, ready to stake everything on this strike. Even if I have to bet everything. Seo Yunyun was surprised by Kim Young-hoon's decisive attack. He hastily raised his sword to parry, his eyes showing astonishment. Kim Young-hoon breathed a sigh of relief, realizing he had successfully broken Seo Yunyun's stance. A glimmer of hope sparked in his heart. That's right, I've broken his move's rhythm. He was confident in his extensive combat experience. This was an advantage Kim Young-hoon had accumulated through countless life and death battles. In terms of actual combat experience, I'm ahead. With that confidence, Kim Young-hoon continued his assault, each sword strike carrying earth-shattering power, sending dust and rocks flying. Amidst the swirling dust, a smirk appeared on Seo Yunyun's face. He seemed to be enjoying the battle. Seo Yunyun's eyes were sharp, his smile enigmatic. He declared he would display the true power of the Sanhua Guanding realm, The battle was not over. I will show you the Manhwa realm. Kim Young-hoon suddenly shivered, feeling a terrifying surge of killing intent. All his senses screamed danger. Something huge was about to happen. What the hell is this? All my senses are screaming danger. Something big is coming. Without hesitation, Kim Young-hoon poured all his strength into his sword, a fierce blue light erupting. He decided to use his strongest technique, sword force. With a resounding roar, Kim Young-hoon shot forward like an arrow, unleashing a sword strike that tore through space. A massive surge of sword energy ripped through the ground, heading straight for Seo Yun-hyun, who stood in the distance. Yeah! Kim Young-hoon's eyes were as sharp as blades. He knew this strike could tear his opponent apart, but he also understood that if he faced it head-on, he himself would be shattered. If I take it head-on, I'll be torn to shreds. But, nevertheless, Kim Young-hoon did not retreat. He had painstakingly cultivated Duanchan Jianfa, an unparalleled technique created by Kim Young-hoon himself. A genius who had once reached Wudao Hexen. With unwavering resolve, Kim Young-hoon unleashed his ultimate technique, sword energy surging like a tsunami. Duanchan Jian, Huiyin Kongu. The terrifying sword strike tore through the forest. Ancient trees were uprooted, and leaves flew wildly in the emerald energy surge. Destructive power spread everywhere. After the earth-shattering attack, the entire forest was enveloped in a white dust cloud, with rocks and debris flying everywhere. No one knew the outcome of the battle. When the dust settled, Seo Yun-hyun emerged from the hazy smoke, still standing firm as a rock. He smiled meaningfully, completely unharmed. Ho ho, impressive. Kim Young-hoon was stunned, unable to believe his eyes. His fatal counterattack had been completely blocked. You withstood my counterattack? Normally, your sword would have shattered, and you would have been blown away. Powerlessly looking at the broken sword at his feet, Kim Young-hoon had to accept the truth. He had lost. It seems this is my defeat. Seo Yun-hyun maintained his enigmatic smile, looking at his opponent's broken sword. Because my weapon broke. That's an insult to any martial artist. Anyway, you're quite skilled and experienced, aren't you? He turned and walked away, sheathing his sword decisively. Don't worry. From now on, I'll never be able to defeat you again. A complex light flashed in Seo Yun-hyun's eyes. He told himself that with this final decisive battle, he would not be able to surpass Kim Young-hoon until the next life. The scene changed. An ancient building appeared. A voice echoed, signaling a new event. Now that you have reached the Manhwa realm, I have prepared a gift. In the elegant room, Seo Yun-hyun stood opposite Kim Young-hoon, holding a mysterious gift box. Oh, wasn't the last match my gift? Is there something else? Yes. Here. An ancient martial arts manual, titled Wugong Chaoyue Shulian Yu Taoyue, appeared. A note explained that it was bought from an old man, requiring the Manhwa realm to cultivate. Seo Yun-hyun handed the book to Kim Young-hoon, saying he had tried but understood nothing. Kim Young-hoon took it, his eyes shining as if he had met his destiny, promising to delve into it. After completing his literacy lessons, Kim Young-hoon plunged into research. The 6 volumes of the Wugong Chaoyue Shulian Yu Taoyue manual were quickly devoured by him, like a thirst for knowledge. 4 months later, time flew by, bringing silent changes within the ancient building. Seo Yun-hyun returned, carrying a heavy bag of money, a radiant smile on his face. He informed Kim Young-hoon that he had completed his mission and received a generous reward. But the room was empty, not a soul in sight. Seo Yun-hyun was astonished, exclaiming, "What? Where did he go?" His eyes darted around, unable to sense any trace of Kim Young-hoon's presence. He realized that his opponent had vanished from the house, leaving no trace. Just as Seo Yun-hyun was still bewildered, a ghostly figure suddenly appeared behind him, enveloped in a surge of dark energy. He flinched, a gasp of "huh" escaping him. Kim Young-hoon burst out laughing, proudly boasting that he had tried a move from the manual. He said Seo Yun-hyun hadn't detected him at all, affirming that this was indeed a supreme martial art. Seo Yun-hyun was shaken, his eyes filled with disbelief. He muttered, "That is, this strange technique." In his previous life, Kim Young-hoon had to reach Wudao, he to perform it. But now, less than a year after his regression, he had managed to do it? Seo Yun-hyun was secretly astonished. Kim Young-hoon laughed heartily, saying it was just one of many techniques in the book. He confidently declared that if even Seo Yun-hyun at the peak realm couldn't detect him, then he could assassinate anyone. Seo Yun-hyun looked at his opponent, a slight smirk on his lips. He thought to himself, indeed, talent. Kim Young-hoon suggested they travel the martial world together, seeking real combat experience. But Seo Yun-hyun refused, saying he had his own plans. Kim Young-hoon asked in surprise why. Seo Yun-hyun explained he needed more time to consolidate his peak realm. Kim Young-hoon pouted, remarking that he was still in the early stage of the peak realm and couldn't yet use sword threads. Seo Yun-yun smiled, partly admitting it but revealing more. He had started to take an interest in the imperial court. Kim Young-hoon was surprised, repeating, "The imperial court?" Seo Yun-yun explained that his entry into the court would benefit Kim Young-hoon, who was active in the martial world. Kim Young-hoon replied, "Hey, brother Seo, I'm truly grateful." After their conversation, the two decided to temporarily part ways. Seo Yun-yun revealed that his entry into the imperial court harbored even deeper motive. During his time as a strategist for the Martial Arts Alliance, Seo Yun-yun had uncovered a shocking truth. The royal family of the Yun Kingdom had a closer connection to the cultivation world than any other force. Rumors spread that a terrifying secret enveloped the imperial palace. Darkness and invisible hands seemed to be manipulating everything from behind. The Yeon royal family was even a branch of a powerful cultivation clan. To access this secret, Seo Yun-yun decided to join the Yeon Kingdom's army. With his illustrious reputation as a bounty hunter in the martial world, Seo Yun-yun was warmly welcomed by the army. He quickly integrated, preparing for his next steps. In the blink of an eye, he was quickly recognized and promoted to general. Fierce battles, and all those who stood in his way, were crushed beneath his blade. After that, he continued to apply for the Imperial Guard and passed easily. All these achievements were completed by Seo Yun-hyun within 5 years of his regression. A seasoned general with a full beard assigned Seo Yun-yun his mission. Your duty is to protect His Majesty with your life. As someone in the peak realm, you are perfectly capable. Seo Yun-yun stood solemnly before the general, his gaze firm. He replied, "Yes, I will remember that." He was assigned to the Shadow Imperial Guard, undergoing 4 months of rigorous training in stealth techniques and concealing his presence before being officially deployed to protect the emperor. Finally, the day Seo Yun-yun was to meet the emperor arrived. He stepped into the magnificent grand hall where the glittering throne awaited. But on that fateful day, Seo Yun-yun discovered a shocking truth that astonished him to the core. The emperor. The emperor was a cultivator. This secret, meticulously hidden, was now laid bare before Seo Yun-yun's eyes. The emperor's mysterious smile, hidden behind the beaded crown, was like a prophecy of the profound secrets he was about to uncover. Seo Yun-hyun, in his black guard uniform, suddenly realized the horrifying truth about the ruler. That is a cultivator's divine sense. The emperor was born a cultivator, already possessing a spiritual root. Amidst the clear blue sky, without a single cloud, it was like a calm before the storm about to erupt in his mind. He stood in the vast palace courtyard, observing the princes and princesses. That truth became even more certain after meeting some of the princes and princesses. Within the imperial family, the vast majority are cultivators possessing divine sense. Seo Yun-yun's eyes were sharp, and he assessed. However, they don't seem to be high-level cultivators. None of them can compare to that fox. A prince, enveloped in a red aura, was only at the Qi refining realm. Seo Yun-yun wondered. Even they are only at the Qi refining realm. And I don't understand why a peak realm expert like me has to be their guard. But then, he realized an even more horrifying truth about the emperor. Furthermore, the emperor's hidden presence is absolutely not at the first star Qi refining level. At his level, he is stronger than the entire Shadow Guard combined. A chilling speculation arose in Seo Yun-yun's mind. So, the Shadow Guard exists only because he doesn't want to deal with assassins himself? Night fell. An assassin glided across the palace roof. The emperor is the most threatened person in the imperial family. Blood splattered as Seo Yun-yun made his move. Almost every night, assassins come. And every night, I fight and suppress them. He looked down at the fallen enemy, blood staining the ground, and asked himself, should I call it luck that I've gained so much practical combat experience? A hand hung limp, stained with blood. Thus, 5 years passed as I served as one of the Shadow Guards. In the distance, Kim Young-hoon stood watching the army train, their morale soaring. During that time, Kim Young-hoon became the leader of the Martial Alliance. As the Emperor's guard, I was officially forbidden from meeting the Martial Alliance leader. Therefore, the two old friends had no choice but to meet in the shadows, raising their wine cups together, sharing their thoughts, despite all imperial prohibitions. Night fell, and the ancient edifice stood majestically in the darkness, harboring countless secrets and fateful encounters. In another moment, a hand gripped the hilt of a sword, vibrant red energy threads coiling around it, signaling a dormant power awakening. Seo Yun-hyun, in his guard uniform, his deep blue eyes highly focused, analyzed. That red line, that is the opponent's most optimal attack trajectory aimed at me. He saw another version of himself, meditating with a sword, and realized, if I step into that, Kim Young-hoon's blade will cut me down instantly. The scene shifted to a gray tone. Seo Yun-yun still stood there, Observing his former self enveloped by a vibrant red energy flow, he exclaimed, "This scene is too familiar. It's like a cultivator's divine sense. What a pity!" An exclamation echoed in his mind. Seo Yunyan sighed, regretting. If I had reached the three flowers gathering at the peak realm, I would have been able to see even more. Well, for now, I must observe this carefully too. His former self, surrounded by ethereal light, was gradually comprehending. He told himself, I still can't grasp everything, but this is definitely a clue about sword lines. A stream of blue energy escaped from his mouth, as a sign of the transformation taking place. His body glowed with dazzling golden light, stretching to embrace new power. Every fiber of muscle seemingly regenerated. Brilliant light from within spread throughout the room, signaling an extraordinary event had just occurred. Seo Yun emerged, youthful and robust, his long hair flowing freely, a satisfied smile on his face. My body has changed. An invisible voice congratulated. Congratulations, you have achieved rejuvenation. Seo Yun replied. Yes, I have safely reached the 5 Tao core. The invisible voice continued. But it's a pity for you, Brother Seo. If you had reached the three flowers gathering at the peak realm, you would have been able to see even more. Seo Yun told himself, that's exactly what I thought. Well, there's no other way. My realm is still shallow. The invisible voice still echoed, reminding Seo Yun to carefully reflect on what he'd experienced, the valuable lessons from his regression journey. In his memory, amidst the silent night forest, a question echoed. By the way, Brother Kim, you must have met a few cultivators by now, right? Another voice replied, thoughtfully. That's right. Two figures quietly walked through the tree canopy. Seo Yun mused. From what I see, your divine sense and the domain you create seem astonishingly similar. The other person immediately asked, so, you believe there's a connection? The long-haired young man nodded slightly, his gaze distant. I think so. In this domain, I believe I can fight on par with chi-refining realm cultivators. He told himself, perhaps those who reach the 5 Tao core will have a similar perspective to cultivators. The man in black mused, realizing, I see. So even martial artists who reach the 5 Tao core can cultivate on par with cultivators. A sharp, cold eye flashed. He concluded that just as the gap between top tier and peak is immense, the difference between peak and 5 Tao core must also open up entirely new realms of perception. Seo Yun told himself that this experience would surely help him when he himself reached the 5 Tao core. That day, after receiving martial arts guidance from Kim Young-hoon, he once again returned to the imperial palace. A few days later, in the silent palace, Seo Yun stood alone, the space enveloped in anticipation. He looked up, his sharp gaze piercing through the darkness. On the ceiling, a black shadow flickered in and out of sight. Another assassin, Seo Yun coldly assessed. Seo Yun immediately took a defensive stance, vibrant red sword chi erupting around him. He sensed the familiar energy flow and exclaimed, a peak master! From above, a sharp, cold, short sword tore through the air, plunging straight down, carrying immense killing intent. He looked up, recognizing his opponent. Judging by his aura, he has only just entered the peak realm, Seo Yun calmly analyzed. The assassin in black swooped down like a ghost, his short blade swinging up, aiming directly at Seo Yun's vital points. The deafening clang of metal echoed. Seo Yun swung his sword, blocking the assassin's fatal attack, creating a flash of sparks in midair. Seo Yun blocked the fatal sword strike, a flicker of doubt in his sharp eyes. He felt something unusual about this confrontation. In the midst of the battle, Seo Yun's mind drifted back to the past, to the image of Kim Young-hoon meditating, enveloped in a vibrant red aura. He told himself, I should be fully focused on this battle, but my mind can't escape the image of Kim Young-hoon ascending to the 5 Tao core. He gripped the sword tightly in his hand, a verdant sword light erupting. Seo Yun questioned the nature of sword chi, a realm he once believed to be the pinnacle of sword-body unity. He thought, what truly is sword chi? It is proof of achieving sword-body unity, the apex among first-rate practitioners. Upon reaching the peak realm, the optimal path always becomes clear. And by following that path, sword chi will never extinguish. He believed that the optimal path he saw was the ultimate limit of swordsmanship. In the fierce battle with the assassin, Seo Yun asserted, the optimal path I see, ultimately, is the extreme limit that my swordsmanship indicates. Sword chi is the essence of my swordsmanship, merging with sword-body unity, sublimated to its utmost. He once concluded, swordsmanship is sword chi, but a flicker of doubt suddenly appeared in his eyes. Seo Yun was startled, realizing something was wrong with his conclusion. He thought, that was the conclusion I reached during my training. Wait, no, that's not right. Something is illogical. He recalled a Jiangshi, an insentient creature controlled by others. If swordsmanship was sword chi, then Jiangshi should also be able to use sword chi. He wondered, if that were true, then Jiangshi controlled by cultivators should also be able to use sword chi if they had learned swordsmanship, right? A truth dawned. Sword chi is not merely swordsmanship. While confronting the assassin, Seo Yunyun suddenly had an epiphany. He whispered, "Sword chi. Now I understand." Although sword chi can originate from swordsmanship, the core of sword chi, ultimately, is the will of the martial artist wielding the sword. The red and blue energy lines he saw in battle were not just optimal paths or the enemy's intentions. They were the will of the martial artist manifesting martial Tao, the directions of their intent. He realized, those red and blue lines are not just optimal paths or the enemy's intentions. They are the will of the martial artist manifesting martial Tao. They are the directions of their intent. Upon realizing this, a strange sensation surged through Seo Yunyun's sword-wielding hand, as if veins had sprouted from the blade and pierced into his flesh. The assassin in black didn't give Seo Yunyun time to think further, launching a vicious kick, continuing the relentless assault. The assassin in black lunged like a ghost, his short blade flashing with deadly light, aiming directly at Seo Yunyun. Without hesitation, Seo Yunyun swung his sword to block, his eyes as sharp and cold as ice. From his blade, countless threads of sword intent, fine as silk, suddenly shot out, forming a deadly net that enveloped the enemy. That terrifying power tore apart the assassin's mask, fragments scattering in the air. The young woman's face, hidden behind the mask, was revealed, her eyes wide with horror, blood seeping onto her cheek. Severely shaken, the assassin was flung backward, her body spinning uncontrollably. She crashed onto the palace floor, creating a jarring sound, dust flying up. Seo Yunyun looked down, his gaze profound. He silently told himself, this is not the end yet. He continued to channel sword intent into the sword, a powerful blue energy surging, enveloping his hand. If I continued to channel sword intent, the assassin lay on the ground, her eyes still stunned, utterly astonished by her opponent's power. Seo Yunyun looked at the young woman, understanding something. He said, so, it can manifest clearly, even in reality. That was sword thread, a realm that only peak swordsmen could reach. Memories suddenly flooded back. Seo Yunyun recalled a significant moment. About 10 years after reaching the peak realm, he had reached the mid-peak stage and could use sword thread, a great leap forward in his cultivation path. The assassin in black was sent flying, her mask torn, revealing the beautiful but terrified face of a young woman with streaks of blood on her cheek. She collapsed, her eyes wide with horror as she looked at the one who had struck her. Seo Yunyun, in his solemn black guard uniform, walked slowly, his blue glowing sword still radiating an overpowering aura. Behind him, the assassin in black lay prostrate, helpless. Seo Yunyun's eyes were cold and sharp, half his face shrouded in shadow, hinting at mystery. He looked down at the assassin and muttered, a familiar face? A memory resurfaced, an image of a young woman with long brown hair and gentle eyes, dressed in maid's attire. A voice echoed, you must be one of the emperor's new maids. Seo Yunyun stood tall on the magnificent palace floor, his sword pointed at the ground. He looked at the kneeling young woman and assessed, to reach such a peak at such a young age, a talent who could have reached the Three Lights Convergence realm, if allowed to live. The young woman looked up, trembling as she asked, you are the infinite combat spirit, aren't you? Seo Yunyun's eyes narrowed, a flicker of surprise crossing them. Half his face remained shrouded in shadow, concealing his emotions. He replied, you know me? Another image appeared in Seo Yunyun's mind, an old man with a pained expression. He recalled, 10 years ago, I was certainly known as the infinite combat spirit. But at some point, the people of the Yeon Kingdom began to call me the monster of infinite combat. Blood still stained Seo Yunyun's cheek. He gritted his teeth, his face filled with agony and resentment. Memories of his talented younger brother and the emperor's cruelty tormented him again. My brother was far more talented than me, but because of that damned emperor. Seo Yunyun turned his back, shadows enveloping his face, his voice cold and unwavering. It's useless to try and stir my emotions. The principle is to execute assassins on the spot. A frantic guard ran up, his face filled with astonishment and fear at the scene before him. He shouted, another assassination attempt! The young assassin knelt, desperately pleading with Seo Yunyun, trying to sway him with the brutal truth. Monster of infinite combat! You're making a mistake! Commoners are dying off because of the emperor's orders. A streak of fresh blood splattered in the air, cutting off the young woman's words. The action was swift as lightning, without hesitation. Seo Yunyun turned his back, his eyes emotionless. He murmured, I apologize, but in my position, To be swayed by an assassin is also a grave crime. The young assassin lay motionless in a pool of blood. Seo Yunyun's sword had completed its task. He stood there, his demeanor cold, without a hint of regret. Night fell upon the imperial palace, stars twinkling over the ancient tiled roofs, casting a veil of silence over the scene that had just unfolded. Seo Yunyun and the guards in black silently disposed of the female assassin's body. He thought to himself, I felt a fleeting regret at personally ending such an outstanding talent. But then, I dealt with the body with my colleagues. Seo Yunyun's gaze turned towards the emperor's chambers. He mused, there was so much noise just now, yet, as expected, the emperor made no move. A sound-insulating barrier enveloped the chambers, with radiant purple magical chains. He realized, sound-insulating magic covers the chambers. It's as if he doesn't even need to hide the fact that he's a cultivator. Seo Yunyun ordered the guards. Clean up thoroughly, without a trace. He knew well. After all, everyone in the shadow guards knows the emperor is a cultivator. Those who reach the highest realm can see through a cultivator's domain with their own eyes. The guard fell into thought, his eyes sharp and cold. He mused. After all, the recent assassination attempts on the emperor are increasing. The Yeon kingdom was experiencing a period of peace and prosperity under the emperor's rule. He thought to himself, although there are still poor people, there's no situation where commoners fall on hard times and become bandits. Seo Yunyun held the female assassin's short sword, his eyes filled with doubt. He wondered, so who keeps sending assassins to kill the emperor? I even detest this weapon with a potent poison. Moreover, the assassin is from the Yeon kingdom and even knows my title. The imperial palace corridor was silent, the majestic gilded walls stretching endlessly, like a labyrinth holding countless secrets. Seo Yunyun walked slowly on the red carpet, his footsteps echoing. He mused, all right, I'll just investigate slowly. After all, my purpose in coming to this imperial palace is only to gather information about cultivators. 10 years later, the imperial palace was as majestic as ever. But time had changed many things. Seo Yunyun recounted, I persisted in my guard duties and gained the emperor's trust. He continued his work, utilizing the authority he gained. He said, at the same time, I used my authority to gather information from all over the imperial palace. Of course, I could not access classified information. Now, Seo Yunyun, with a more mature appearance, sat amidst piles of documents. He had, but by piecing together documents only available in government offices, I found clues about the cultivator families. His eyes gleamed with triumph, a satisfied smile spreading across his lips. He exclaimed, I finally identified the area where the cultivator families reside. Seo Yunyun sighed. Even though he had found clues about the cultivator families, gathering information was still strangely difficult. He mused, it's still better than when I was a strategist for the Martial Alliance. Sword chi was hidden in every fiber of his being. Each night was a battle of life and death. He believed that, at this rate, he could reach the Three Flowers gathering at the peak realm in this lifetime. Continuing his work, he flipped to a new set of documents, muttering, next is the census report. Each dry line on the paper, however, contains something unusual. The report stated, in the 33rd year of the Heian calendar, thanks to the emperor's grace, the number of orphans and beggars had significantly decreased. And as a result, the number of people joining bandit groups also disappeared. He stood up, holding the report in his hand, his eyes filled with doubt. This is a report compiled by a government office. Why is it so shoddy? He pointed out the crucial missing point. The most important part is missing. How did the number of beggars decrease? His eyes were sharp and cold as he wondered, did they starve to death? If such a large number of people died of starvation collectively, there's no way I wouldn't have known in the past. They weren't socially promoted, nor did the emperor issue relief policies. This truly means they were silently erased. A painful image flashed in his mind. A young woman with a blood-stained face, screaming in despair. Furthermore, the Yin Kingdom has no famine or war. Commoners are dying under the emperor's orders. He returned to reality, looking around the spacious study, deep in thought. Strange. The current emperor may not be a saint, but at least he's a normal ruler. So, where did all those erased poor people go? The question hung in the air. He placed his hand on the pile of documents, asserting, if this is something even government offices couldn't grasp, it's likely related to the cultivator families. These information gaps are always related to the cultivator family. He turned his back and looked out the window. Perhaps I'll have to entrust the next investigation to Kim Young-hee. Outside, a magnificent structure appeared. It was the Martial Alliance. The abdication ceremony of the first Martial Alliance leader, Kim Young-hee, took place solemnly amidst the ranks of guards. Although many felt regret, he revealed an unusual sense of relief. That relief had a reason. Kim Young. He had fully comprehended all 6 volumes of Joseol Mugyung. and was now ready to embark on a journey to seek out the mysterious cultivators. A door creaked open, a soft sound echoing in the silent space. Seo Yun-yun, with a more composed appearance, walked in. Kim Young, he was taken aback, remarking that his presence increasingly resembled an assassin's. Seo Yun-yun immediately conveyed all the information and conclusions he had gathered from the imperial palace. As expected, Kim Young-hee showed immense interest upon learning of matters related to cultivator family. Seo Yun-yun pointed out the hiding places of the cultivator families, entrusting Kim Young-hee with the investigation. He eagerly accepted, also curious to know what they were plotting. And so, through Kim Young-hee, Seo Yun-yun was determined to unravel the secrets, exposing the hidden schemes of the cultivator families. Time passed, night fell, covering the ancient tiled roofs under the twinkling starlight. Seo Yun-yun, now the deputy commander, received a report from a guard. Deputy Commander, the North Gate is secure. He pondered, noticing that the number of infiltrating assassins had recently decreased. Perhaps, even they couldn't send countless top-tier experts here indefinitely. Suddenly, a terrified shout rang out. "Assassins at the East Gate!" Flames erupted fiercely, signaling a surprise attack. A guard was engulfed by the flames. A tragic scream tearing through the night, a sight that sent chills down one's spine. Amidst the chaos, a mysterious blue-haired figure appeared, a talisman in hand, and coldly remarked, all of them are top-tier experts." The blue-haired man stood amidst the encirclement, his face annoyed as his stealth magic was broken. He muttered, irritated by the guard's keen senses. Seo Yun-yun and the guards looked up, horrified to realize the enemy was a cultivator. He couldn't believe it. The enemy had run out of experts to the point of having to send cultivators as assassins. Another guard commander roared, warning the entire army. He urged everyone to be highly vigilant against this sudden danger. The blue-haired man turned around, talismans in both hands, his eyes full of contempt. He mocked the guards, claiming that the experts they had faced before were merely first-level cultivators. He hovered in midair, countless yellow talismans floating around him. He arrogantly declared himself a second-level cultivator, his power far surpassing anything they had ever known. Flames erupted fiercely in the blue-haired man's hands, the talismans glowing brightly. He swore to destroy them all, then seek out that damned bastard from the Mockley family's branch. Fire incinerated everything. Violent streams of fire plunged down like blades of death. Tragic screams tore through the air as the guards were engulfed by the flames, turning into charred, agonizing figures. The blue-haired man curled his lips into a sneer, his eyes gloating at the brutal scene. Suddenly, a figure charged forward, a flashing sword blocking the ferocious flames. It was Seo Yun-hein, his eyes resolute, ready to confront. The blue-haired man was stunned, his eyes wide with disbelief at the sight before him. He couldn't believe his attack had been blocked. Seo Yun-yun looked directly at the enemy, his eyes sharp and challenging. He retorted with a contemptuous tone, mocking his opponent's arrogance. The blue-haired man roared in anger, calling Seo Yun-yun a mere worm with his face filled with fury. A dazzling white energy burst, tearing through the night and engulfing the space above an ancient building. Outside, the royal guards on duty panicked. A black-robed guard exclaimed, "Damn it, that's a barrier. What's happening inside?" Thick black smoke and fog enveloped the palace, creating a gloomy and unsettling scene under the moonlight. A mystical purple talisman appeared in midair, terrifying the guard. "Is it a cultivator attacking? Quickly call for reinforcements." Inside the palace, the exquisite and magnificent architecture was now plunged into chaos and ruin. Fresh blood was splattered everywhere, and other black-robed guards were engulfed in fierce flames. A surviving guard knelt, panting, "Ha! Ha!" Raging flames erupted, devouring everything in their path, turning the palace into a blazing inferno. A powerful footstep landed on the ground, echoing amidst the chaos. Seo Yun-yun, with a blood-stained face and resolute eyes, looked up and roared, "Slash! Slash!" Seo Yun-yun's sword flared with a deep blue light, and he focused all his will, telling himself, "Even if it's just for a second, if I can transform sword silk into enhanced sword energy." Above, the bald man in blue robe, with his gray-blue hair and prayer beads, sneered, a yellow talisman hovering above his head. He mocked, "How many more times do I have to tell you? You can't break my defense with that power." Seo Yun-yun lunged, his brilliant blue sword slashing directly at the bald man in blue robe, but the arrogant smile had not yet faded from his lips. Two streams of blue energy collided violently, creating a deafening explosion, and azure lightning bolts shot out in all directions. The bald man in blue robe's smile vanished, replaced by shock and fury. He roared, "Huh? This crazy bastard?" In the next moment, the bald man in blue robe was sent flying, his body flung far away in a dazzling blue electric light. A deep wound tore through his robe, fresh blood staining it red, evidence of the attack just inflicted upon the bald man. The bald man was injured and coughed up blood, his face filled with horror. He couldn't believe his final chi-infused sword move had been neutralized so easily. Amidst the chaotic battlefield, the bald man hovered within a protective barrier, surrounded by fallen black-robed guards, their swords clattering. 2 guards still stood, their faces smeared with blood, their eyes filled with rage and hatred as they stared at the enemy. The bald man roared furiously, raising his leg high as if to crush the one who had injured him. "You dare?" Without hesitation, he stomped heavily on a guard writhing on the ground. A painful groan echoed. "Ugh!" The bald man, eyes wide with fury, continued to shriek. "How dare a lowly creature like you injure me?" He adjusted his robe, his gaze cold. Initially, he had only intended to toy with them, but not anymore. "I had planned to toy with you before killing that bastard branch of the Mockley family, but I've changed my mind." His face contorted with rage. He yelled, declaring a terrible punishment. "I will impale you on a stake and crush you bit by bit until you die." A series of fiery golden vortexes, carrying destructive power, shot forth like arrows of death. 2 guards watched in horror as their comrades burst into flames, one clutching his chest in pain, the other trembling with his sword. "Cough, Vice Captain." The bald man, still enveloped by his energy shield, unleashed a devastating attack on another guard. The black-robed guard fell, blood gushing from the wounds caused by the golden vortexes. He turned his face away, a look of disdain clearly visible. "Don't bother me, you insects." The bald man stood towering over the fallen guard's body, his eyes full of arrogance. "Don't you understand that no matter how much you try to resist a cultivator, your fate will be crushed beneath my feet?" The black-robed guard stood rooted to the spot, looking down at their fallen comrades in pools of blood. Silence enveloped them, heavy as an obituary. Seo Union lay sprawled on the ground, fresh blood gushing from his mouth. He coughed violently, cursing under his breath. "Damn it! I used too much chi at once. My internal organs feel like they're tearing apart." The bald man stomped heavily on Seo Union, his eyes full of contempt. "You're still alive? Let's see how much longer you can endure, you insect." Seo Union lay there, blood still flowing. He silently accepted the bitter truth. "That's right. I'm nothing but an insect." He continued to think, his voice full of bitterness. "My talent, my skills, and my entire life are nothing but a bug's." The bald man sneered, bending down to look at Seo Union. What? Are you begging for your life?" The bald man's foot remained on Seo Union. Though suppressed, in Seo Union's mind, the years of arduous training and everything he had experienced could not vanish. Suddenly, Seo Union struggled up, grabbing the bald man's leg. Blood still splattered, but his eyes blazed with unyielding will. Seo Union flung the bald man away. The bald man staggered, utterly surprised as he realized, this guy has never trained his body, nor has he ever fought properly. The bald man was furious, gritting his teeth. He concluded that Seo Yun was merely lucky to have innate talent, becoming a cultivator with ease. The bald man stomped on Seo Yun again, his voice full of indignation. "Can I lose to such a bastard? Can I fall before someone like that?" However, Seo Yun clenched his fist, blood oozing out. He silently vowed not to accept the truth that all his efforts were in vain, that he couldn't reach a higher realm. He roared, his eyes bloodshot, his face covered in blood. "Don't you dare make me give up. Even the struggle of an insect has meaning." The green-haired person suddenly appeared, launching a fire talisman attack. Seo Yun, still grappling with the bald man, yelled, "You, filthy scum! Get your hands off me!" The bald man was stunned, fresh blood gushing from his nose, unable to believe what was happening. "Huh? What the hell is this?" Seo Yun's eyes were bloodshot, cold as ice. He whispered, a sinister smile appearing on his lips. "The poison has taken effect!" The sword was merely a decoy, the chi enhancement technique only to break through defenses. The true weapon was the poison coating his blade. Pain tore through his body, and the bald man screamed in despair, blood streaming from his eyes and nose. "Damn it! The poison! I must neutralize it!" But Seo Yun gave him no chance. He pressed down firmly on his opponent, his eyes burning with hatred. "Did you think I'd let you do that? Now, taste the flavor of the insect you despised." He used his hand to tightly cover the bald man's mouth, blood splattering. "I'll cover his mouth so he can't chant spells." Seo Yun continued to lock down his opponent's arms, preventing him from forming hand seals, and restrain his hands so he can't form seals. "Now, try using your magic." In the great hall, the surviving black-robed guards watched in horror, some already fallen. The bald man could only let out weak groans. Just then, an amulet glowed brightly before shattering, and an invisible defense collapsed. Outside, soldiers in blue armor surged in. "The defense has been breached! Charge!" A flurry of footsteps, and the blue-armored soldiers poured into the great hall like a flood. The great hall's ceiling revealed intricate magical patterns, a reminder of the power that once enveloped this place. The great hall was now filled with soldiers, some assisting wounded comrades, while the bald man lay motionless in a pool of blood. Seo Yunyun bent down, looking at the one who had once scorned him, his eyes cold as ice. "You called me an insect." He looked at the bald man's corpse, now disfigured by poison, then uttered cruel words. "But after death, you're no different."